Chapter 272. Yijioga couldn't figure out the cause of her death. But today she came to settle the score with Yi Yuxuan, not to solve the case. She told the old housekeeper to seal up the ink garden and fragrant orchid courtyard, then went to the hall to wait for Yi Yuxuan's return. At dusk Yi Yuxuan finally rushed back. When he heard that Su Yufeng had died along with 2 children and that everyone in 7th Mistress's courtyard had died, he didn't rush to check. Instead he pointed at Yijioga and scolded, "You jinx, as soon as you came back you made my house restless. What are your intentions?" Yijioga knew that Yi Yuxuan would put the blame on her. She couldn't be bothered to talk about it, so she directly said, "I don't want to talk nonsense with you, hand over the universe treasure herb pill." "That's my pill, why do you want me to hand it over?" Yi Yuxuan said fiercely. It wasn't easy for him to exchange for this pill. How could he hand it over? "That's the pill you got by selling your daughter. If you don't hand it over, I guarantee that your bad name will spread across the entire Kanglan continent. At that time, let's see if you still have the face to go out." Yijioga knew that Yi Yuxuan cared about his face and was most afraid of people talking about his shortcomings. "You dare?" Yi Yuxuan roared. "I dared to go to Blood Cloud Peak to kill bloodthirsty ancestor. What else do I not dare to do?" Yijioga's expression was cold and her eyes were fierce. Yi Yuxuan's heart jumped. He had to admit that this daughter was getting more and more terrifying. He swallowed his saliva, then said with difficulty, "But I already ate the pill." "You ate it?" Yijioga frowned, opened her spirit eye to check Yi Yuxuan's body, and found that the spirit-dispersing pill had already dispersed. If Yi Yuxuan was obedient he wouldn't be in danger before Yi Rui came of age. But he purposely used Yi Rui to exchange for the universe treasure herb pill, causing his death to come early. Right now his chi was declining and he was on the verge of death. "Juga, I have no other choice. I don't know what happened, but my cultivation suddenly stagnated. I originally thought that eating the universe treasure herb pill would help me break through the bottleneck, but it didn't help at all. Juga, you must have gained a lot from this trip to Blood Cloud Peak, you have to help me." Yi Yuxuan begged bitterly. "Take care." Yijioga couldn't save Yi Yuxuan. Since she couldn't get the heaven and earth treasured herb pill back, she could only ask the Gong family to help her ask Ancestor Lingyun for her. Yijioga turned around to leave, but Yi Yuxuan roared, "Yijioga, don't forget that I'm your father. If you don't help me then you're unfilial. If word of this gets out, everyone in the world will laugh at you." "Yi Yuxuan, I've already severed our relationship as father and daughter. From today onwards my surname is Yun, not Yi," Yijioga said word by word. "My daughter Yi Yun said. Yi Yuxuan said furiously, "Don't forget that the plaque on your mansion is named Yi. That was given by Emperor Xian Wu himself. Do you want to go against the Dongfang family?" "Yi Emperor Yi I family, house family, Yi and..." "That's right. That's why I advise you to obediently keep the signboard of the Yi mansion. That way it'll be easier to meet in the future." Ever since Yi Yuxuan found out that Yijioga was coming back to establish his own sect, he secretly gave Emperor Xian Wu a 3rd-grade Thunder Spirit pill and begged him to give Yijioga the Yi Residence's plaque. He was certain that Yijioga was on good terms with noble consort Shi and Dongfang Ke, so he was too embarrassed to disobey Emperor Xian Wu. What a good plan. "It's a pity that you're going to die. We won't meet again." After Yijioga finished speaking he turned around and left, leaving Yi Yuxuan's roar behind. When Yijioga returned to his mansion he waved his hand and took down the Yi mansion's signboard. Mother Qing and Elder Huo received the news and came out. When they saw the situation they were very surprised. "Miss, what are you doing? Give this signboard to Yi Yuxuan." Yijioga threw the signboard and said, "From today onwards, we will change our name to Yun Manor." "Really?" Mother Qing was pleasantly surprised. She was originally a member of the Yun family, so she naturally hoped that eldest Miss could change her surname back to Yun. But this horizontal board was given by the emperor. Pearl said in a low voice. She was just an ordinary person, and the emperor was as unshakable as the sky to her. "It's not up to Emperor Xian Wu to decide on my matters." Yijioga really didn't put Emperor Xian Wu in her eyes. "Eldest Miss is really bold," Elder Huo praised, and then he carried out a black golden Nanmu signboard from the house. On it, there were 2 big words Yun Manor, written in an iron pen and silver hook. It was the handwriting of Grandpa Yunwei. Yi Yuxuan hated me because of this signboard. He caused me to lose all my power and almost died in the countryside. Elder Hua said with emotion. He risked his life to protect the old master's Yun Manor signboard, and it finally saw the light of day again. Then please help me put this signboard up, Elder Hua. Yun Jioga said. Elder Hua flew up with the signboard and carefully hung it up. The two big words Yun Manor shone with a dazzling light under the sun, and finally saw the glory of the past. That night the Yun Manor was decorated with lanterns and streamers, and it was full of joy. On one hand, it was to celebrate Yun Jioga's triumphant return. On the other hand, it was to celebrate them completely getting rid of the shadow of the Yi family and to restore the glory of the Yun family. The news of Yun Jioga changing his surname and the signboard spread throughout Shangjing. The nobles in Shangjing all sent gifts to congratulate him. Even Emperor Xianwu sent a generous gift, but he didn't mention that the signboard he sent had been replaced. Yun Jioga was in high spirits, but Yi Yuxuan was gloomy. He set up a mourning hall for Su Yufeng, but no one went to pay their respects. Ever since Su Junqing killed Old Master Su, the Su family had been completely defeated. A group of people rushed to sell their properties, and after that they went their separate ways. They didn't dare stay in Shangjing, afraid that those who were killed by the bloodthirsty sect would come to seek revenge. Yi Yuxuan sent someone to the Danyang sect to deliver a letter to Yi Xianxian, but he didn't expect to receive another bad news. Yi Xianxian brought Yi Rui back to the Danyang sect, but they were attacked by unknown people. They were completely annihilated, and Yi Rui was nowhere to be found. Ancestor Lingyun was furious and sent people to chase after the heaven and earth treasure herb pill. After learning that Yi Yuxuan had already taken it, he beat him up. Yi Yuxuan's vitality was already declining, and after being beaten up he was bedridden. His life was already in danger. He sent someone to invite Yun Jioga, but Yun Jioga didn't want to see him at all. He was worried about Yi Rui. Bailey Moyun wrote to say that when he and Nan Gongli rushed to intercept the Danyang sect, they discovered that they had been killed by a sneak attack, and that the attacker was most likely someone from the demon sect. However, they hadn't found any clues as to which demon sect it was. Yun Jioga didn't expect that after destroying the bloodthirsty sect, a demon sect would appear. What sin did he commit to have to deal with these demons and ghosts? Chapter 273. Yi Rui was captured by the demon sect. Yun Jioga had no way to find her, so he could only ask Bailey Moyun to continue investigating. Bailey Moyun expressed that he would do his best to help. Eldest Miss, do you want me to investigate as well? Ever since Yi Yunji was brought to the Yin Corp sect by Su Junqing, Yi Yu had been paying close attention to the demon sect. No need, let's wait for Yi Zi to come back. Yi Jioga shook his head. She had a feeling that Zi Shang would definitely know something. Moreover, Seventh Aunt's death was strange. She believed that Zi Shang would definitely have a way to find clues. That night it was the 15th day. Zi Shang returned as promised. Little Jioga, did you miss me? The first thing Zi Shang did when he returned was to hug Yi Jioga and kiss him. Yes. Yun Jioga said perfunctorily and told him about Yi Rui and Seventh Aunt. It seems that this Seventh Aunt is indeed strange. This sovereign will help you investigate. Zi Shang said with interest. Yun Jioga brought Zi Shang to Seventh Aunt's courtyard for a walk. He originally wanted to bring him to see Seventh Aunt's corpse, but Zi Shang refused. No need, I already know what happened. What happened? Yi Jioga asked. It was the demon sect's Black Fiend sect. Zi Shang said with certainty. Isn't the Black Fiend sect in the Demon Mountain thousands of miles away? Why would they come here? Yi Jioga was confused. Even if the Black Fiend sect and Yin Corp sect had enmity, they wouldn't come all the way here to kill Seventh Aunt, right? I noticed that there was a soul of the Black Fiend sect following your fourth sister. It seems that she became a disciple of that almighty being and successfully became a demon. Zi Shang saw that Yi Rui was bent on revenge and knew that the Black Fiend sect almighty being would definitely help her. As expected, now that Su Yufeng, Yi Xianxian's Seventh Aunt and Yi Yuxuan were all dead, it saved him a lot of effort. You mean that there was a demon beside fourth sister who helped her control Seventh Aunt to kill Su Yufeng? Yi Jioga suddenly understood. No wonder Seventh Aunt would die so strangely. So it was because the demon controlled her sea of consciousness. That's right, Yi Yuxuan and Yi Xianxian were also killed by the demon. Zi Shang said with certainty. No. Fourth sister has such a dangerous demon by her side. Why didn't you tell me in advance? Yijioga was very angry. That supreme expert wants to take your sister as his disciple. Her sister won't be any worse off if she follows him. You should worry about yourself first. The Almighty of the Black Fiend sect had some relationship with Zhou, so he turned a blind eye and didn't tell Yijioga. In that case, fourth sister's life won't be in danger? It wasn't that Yunjioga looked down on the demon sect, but it was fine as long as Yirui was fine. Of course, the Black Fiend sect's cultivation method is the best at preserving one's life. If she succeeds in becoming a demon, she will definitely live longer than you, Zhou said with certainty. When Yunjioga heard this, he really didn't know whether to be happy or sad. She let out a long sigh before she asked Zhou. Then have you found a way to heal my Dantian? I found it. The only way to get rid of the poison is to go to the Yin Corpse sect and learn their Yin Ghost Corpse control technique, Zhou said seriously. You want me to train in the Corpse sect? Are you joking? Yunjioga felt that Zhou must have gone mad. I'm not joking. Zhou looked at Yunjioga with a serious expression and said, don't you think it's strange that those strange things always happen around you? You clearly haven't offended the bloodthirsty sect, but trouble always comes to you? Because I'm beautiful? Yunjioga always felt that her appearance wasn't a white lotus, but a blood lotus level. Being too beautiful was also a mistake. Seeing Yunjioga's narcissistic look, Zhou was silent for a moment before he reorganized his emotions and continued to brainwash her. Because you have this calamity in your life, that's why those troublesome things revolve around you. Originally, Zhou wanted to reveal some things about the daughter of the divine blood, but seeing Yunjioga like this, he felt that it was better to continue hiding it. When did you change your profession to fortune-telling? Calamity in her life? Why didn't he say that she was the bane of all existence? Although there will be many hardships for you, there will be even more opportunities. Zhou ignored Yunjioga's supercilious look and continued to speak. If the eruption of the Dantian and not being able to cultivate is an opportunity, then I'll give it to you. Yunjioga didn't see any opportunities. She only saw herself being unlucky, Yi being unlucky, Yunji being unlucky, and Yirui being unlucky. These troubles are all experiences. As long as you defeat them, you will obtain great benefits. For example, the 9-layer bone-shattering poison in your Dantian. If you completely absorb it, you will be able to complete the body tempering technique. This is an opportunity that others can only dream of. When Zhou saw that Yunjioga's eyes were rolling wider and wider, he added confidently, it's your luck that you met me. I don't want this poison opportunity. I'll give it to whoever wants it. As for you, Yunjioga looked at Zhou and said reluctantly, you can stay and help me carry my shoes. Do you want to die? Zhou narrowed his eyes with a fierce look. The stupid girl dared to look down on him. She really needed to be taught a lesson. Whatever you say is useless. Anyway, I'm not going to the Yin Corpse sect to cultivate. Even if she went to the Yin Corpse sect, it would be to seek revenge. What was the point of becoming a disciple to cultivate? Was she going to help the Yin Corpse sect harm people in the future? You have to go. First, Yunji is there. If you want the treasure map, you have to go find her. Second, the people who harmed your grandfather are from the Yin Corpse sect. If you want to investigate the truth, you have to go there. Third, your sister Yirui has already joined the Black Fiend sect. If you go to the Yin Corpse sect, you can take care of her. Fourth, you are surrounded by bad luck. Wherever you go, you will implicate others. Since that is the case, why not go to the evil sects to cause trouble? Zhou listed them one by one. Yunjioga was actually speechless. But even so, she was determined not to go. Seeing that Yunjioga was invulnerable, Zhou didn't say anything. The atmosphere became awkward. It was as if a dark cloud had appeared in the sky. Yunjioga felt a bit uneasy. Zhou had been so busy for her. It was a bit too much for her to reject him so rudely. You must be tired after going out for so long. Is there anything you want to eat? I'll make it for you. Yunjioga walked to Zhou's side and pulled on his sleeve, revealing a slightly flattering smile. Zhou didn't look at her and didn't say anything. It seemed that he was really angry. Yunjioga thought about it, then scratched her face and said, I seem to have encountered some bottlenecks in my cultivation. Do you want to help me check? Zhou finally gave Yunjioga a look. How do you want to check? Yunjioga saw that Zhou finally had a reaction. She let out a breath in her heart and said in a small voice, you can check however you want. The hint was very strong. Chapter 274. Xianxia narrowed his eyes and glanced at Yunjioge. He didn't move. Faster thief. Yunjioge thought Xianxia would immediately pounce on her. She hadn't expected him to be so patient. Had her charm deteriorated or had someone else squeezed him dry? Yunjioge's mood immediately turned sour when she thought of this. She was a domineering woman. It was fine when she wasn't with Xianxia in the past, but now that he was hers, she would kill anyone who dared to touch him. Dual cultivation, do you want to do it? Yunjioge took off her outer robe and tossed it over Xianxia's head. Her expression wasn't an invitation but an order. If he dared to refuse, she would definitely chop him into pieces. Xianxia was actually just teasing Yunjioge. Seeing that she was already showing signs of anger, he immediately stopped while he was ahead. Let's do it. Xianxia slowly took off his light purple robe, revealing a perfect, muscular body. His chest muscles were firm and powerful, his abs were well-defined and his thighs were taut. Just looking at them would make one drool. The two didn't waste any words and quickly started practicing. Xianxia wanted to see Yunjioge's cultivation results, so he entered from behind. After moving for 49 times, he saw fine hair appear behind her shoulder blades. Although it wasn't very full, it was a huge improvement. Looks like you've been practicing well recently. Xianxia brushed the faint red light on her back in satisfaction. Of course. Yunjioge was very serious about her cultivation. Xianxia flipped her over and circulated his energy face to face. He saw a clear phoenix feather flower appear between Yunjioge's exquisite brows. It was an extremely enchanting red, beautiful beyond compare. How is it? When can I evolve into a birdman? Yunjioge hugged Xianxia's waist tightly, panting as she spoke. She hadn't done it in a long time, so she couldn't keep up with Xianxia's pace. You want to be a demon? Xianxia raised an eyebrow. He grabbed Yunjioge's waist and leaned back, letting her sit on his waist. I'll consider it if I can fly. Yunjioge didn't like this position. It was too tiring. She still preferred to lie down comfortably and practice martial arts. I promise I'll take you flying. Xianxia was overjoyed when he saw that Yunjioge didn't hate demons. He really wanted to kiss her. Unfortunately, he didn't dare to. He couldn't allow anything to go wrong in this dual cultivation. If he were to be aroused, the one suffering would be Yunjioge. Yunjioge did not know about Xianxia's pain. After he laid down, he began to cultivate comfortably. After Yunjioge's dual cultivation ended, he felt that his dantian was indeed firmer. He had also reconciled with Xianxia and he was very satisfied. In the following days, Xianxia no longer mentioned the matter of going to the Immerse sect to cultivate, as if he had forgotten about it. Yunjioge felt comfortable, but at the same time he also felt that something was wrong. He had a feeling that Xianxia was holding back some evil move. But on second thought, as long as she insisted on not going, he couldn't do anything to her. It didn't take long for Yunjioge to figure out Xianxia's plan. Young miss, you don't look well recently. Are you too tired? Mother Qing brought over a bowl of ginseng soup and looked at Yunjioge worriedly. No. Yunjioge felt that he had been feeling quite good recently. His cultivation had been quite smooth. Miss Four is a good person. You don't have to worry too much. Mother Qing felt that Miss De should be worried about Miss Four. I know. Yi Rui had the protection of the Black Fiend sect, so her days were definitely better than hers. Mother Qing saw that Yunjioge really didn't care, so she continued to guess. Eldest Miss, could it be that you are worried about Master's matter? Although he is seriously ill now, he deserves it. You must not be soft-hearted. I won't be soft-hearted. Yunjioge was very calm. Previously, the old housekeeper of the Yi mansion cried and begged her to save Yi Yuxuan. He even wanted to make a big deal out of it and use the pressure of public opinion to force her. In the end, he was taught a lesson by Xianxia, and now he didn't dare to make a sound. It's good. Drink the ginseng tea while it's hot. Mother Qing watched Yunjioge drink the ginseng tea and then left with peace of mind. Yi Yuxuan won't live for more than 3 days. Xianxia silently appeared behind Yunjioge. Yunjioge nodded without any sadness or joy on her face. Her scumbag father was about to leave, but she didn't feel relaxed in her heart. This was fate. Don't be sad. He doesn't deserve you to treat him well. Xianxia comforted. I'm not sad. Yi Yuxuan was such a scumbag that even his own father couldn't cry. If you're not sad, then why is your face so ugly? Xianxia frowned. Jioga picked up the crystal mirror and looked at herself. She felt that it was okay. It was just that her face was a little pale, her eyes were a little red, and her lips were a little purple. Are you blind? There's clearly a lot of difference. Used to look like this. Xianxia touched the surface of Jioga's mirror, and her previous face appeared in the crystal mirror. She had bright eyes and white teeth, tender and beautiful like a flower. She was like a lotus that had just emerged from the water. She was naturally beautiful, fresh and natural. After looking at the past, she looked at the present. Only then did Jioga realize that her face was pale, her eyes were red and her lips were purple. She looked like a ghost. Although there was a decadent beauty, it was definitely not the appearance of a decent person. Why did I turn into a ghost? Jioga raised her head in fear. Xianxia definitely knew the reason. This poison will gradually change your appearance, making you look like an abnormal person. This is the reason why you have to go to Immerse sect. Xianxia didn't force Jioga during this period of time because he was waiting for her here. What do you mean by not normal person? Could it be that I look like a ghost? You will know very soon. Xianxia sneered. Who asked you to not listen to me before? How soon is very soon? Jioga asked again and again, but Xianxia ignored her. Jioga laid down and slept gloomily. She would know how soon it would be the next morning. The crystal mirror reflected a deathly pale face. A bit of red seeped out from the corner of her eyes. Her pupils were extremely black and her lips were dark purple. Red, black and purple, these four colors appeared on her face at the same time. No matter how beautiful she was, she couldn't shout anymore. How did I become like this? Jioga was completely unable to accept that she had turned from a tender and beautiful white lotus into a devil flower. If you don't go to Immerse sect, there will be more changes in the future. The reason why Xianxia wanted Jioga to go to Immerse sect was because the yin qi there could dissolve the poison in her dantian. During the process of converting the yin qi into spirit power, the 9-stage bone shatters poison would also temper her muscles and bones, achieving a double training effect. If they know that I am Jioga, they won't accept me. Jioga was still struggling. I made a fake identity for you in Dabi Mountain to guarantee that you can smoothly enter Immerse sect. Xianxia had already prepared it. However, only Immerse bone controlling technique could be cultivated by Immerse sect's direct disciples. Although it was easy to enter Immerse sect, it was not easy to become an inner court direct disciple. They still had to work hard. Chapter 275. Alright, when do we leave? Jioga accepted her fate. As soon as possible. Xianxia was afraid that Jioga's poison would spread too quickly. Give me 10 days to prepare. She didn't know when she would return, so she had to make ample preparations. Also, Xuan was about to die. She had to take back what belonged to the Yun family. Sure. By the way, you'll need a lot of herbs to soak your bones in the later stages of your cultivation. You can collect them now. Xianxia gave Jioga a list. Jioga was a human after all. She wasn't as strong as a beast. She still needed some external herbs to aid her cultivation. Alright, I'll ask the Gong family to help me collect them as payment for the blood lotus. Jioga had planned to ask the Gong family to help her find Yurui at the Danyang sect. She didn't need it now. She might as well exchange the favor for money so that the Gong family wouldn't talk about repayment every day. Alright. Xianxia nodded. Jioga definitely couldn't go out and meet people with this villain's face. If he wanted to restore his original appearance, he would have to take some elixirs that could replenish his essence, qi and spirit. Fortunately, she had collected a lot of spirit herbs from the bloodthirsty sect. She hurriedly refined a batch of blood spirit pills and consumed them. Only then did she regain her original appearance. 3 days later, Xuan was in critical condition. Jioga brought Mother Qing, Elder Hua, and the others to visit him. Xuan lay on the bed, his cheeks dry and his eyes sunken. When he saw Jioga, he glared at her with bloodshot eyes and cursed viciously, "Jioga, I'm your father. How can you treat me like this? How can you face your mother in the underworld?" Jioga stood on the bed and smiled sarcastically. "Xuan, when you traded fake pills for my mother's life-saving pills and took away the marrow cleansing and meridian cleansing pills my grandfather left for me, did you ever think about how to face my mother in the underworld? What nonsense are you talking about?" Xuan didn't expect the things he tried so hard to hide to be exposed. You poisoned my grandfather in order to steal the Yun family's business. Do you really think no one knows what you've done? Yun Jioga's eyes were cold. I didn't. Yi Yuxuan gasped violently and shook his head frantically to deny it. My mother in the underworld must be regretting her lack of judgment back then. How could she have fallen for a heartless man like you? Yun Jioga said word by word. Yi Yuxuan's eyes widened as he stared at Yun Jioga's beautiful face. It was as if he'd seen Yun Jiaojiao return from the underworld to claim his life. Jiao, I'm sorry. It's all my fault for being blinded by greed that harmed you. Please forgive me. Yi Yuxuan's eyes bulged as he reached out to grab Yun Jioga's hand. Yun Jioga took a step back to avoid him and said coldly, Go to hell and atone for your sins with my mother. Yi Yuxuan's qi and blood flowed in the opposite direction. His face was ashen and his hands drooped as he died in fear and regret. Yun Jioga looked at him deeply then walked out of the room. Mrs. Qing, Elder Hua and others were waiting outside. They were a little worried when they saw her coming out. Prepare for his funeral. Yun Jioga lowered his eyelids and said emotionlessly. Yi Yuxuan's funeral was very simple. He was buried without even setting up a mourning hall. Although Yun Jioga had changed her surname, no one would object to her going back to take over everything from Yi Yuxuan. The Yun residence's horizontal board replaced the Yi residence and all the properties under its name. From then on, the Yi family no longer existed. After Yun Jioga arranged everything, she released the news that she was heavily injured and was going to Miaojiang's 100,000 mountains to find a life-saving opportunity. Wan Xiang and Bai Songling immediately came to ask if it was true. Dongfang Ke did not come. He had gone to his grandfather's Bai residence and had not returned. Yun Jioga received them and told them half-truthfully about her injuries. Next, she asked them to help take care of the Yun residence. She did not know when she would return. Yun, who only had Elder Hua, an advanced spiritualist, to protect him, so she was still a little worried. Wan Xiang, Bai Songling and the others naturally agreed. The people outside were easy to deal with, but Yi Yu and Luo Tian were different. I can't tell you where I'm going. The matter of going to the corpse sect was too important, so Yun Jioga did not dare to tell them. When will you return? Yi Yu asked melancholically. I can't say for sure. Yun Jioga shook her head. The corpse sect was not that easy to sneak into. Even if she successfully sneaked in, she did not know how long it would take for her to cultivate their supreme technique to get rid of the 9 broken bones poisonous gas. Yi Yu and Luo Tian were silent. They did not blame the eldest miss for hiding it. They could only blame themselves for not being able to help her. Eldest miss, since you are not in the Thunder Nation, I want to return to the Yi family to continue cultivating. His cultivation was too low. He could not even go to the corpse sect to inquire about his sister, let alone help the eldest Mississippi. He had to become stronger. During this period of time, he tried to combine the Yi family's ancestral concealment technique with the mental cultivation method given by Yun Jioga. He cultivated a path unique to the shadow assassin. However, this mental cultivation method required a dark place of extreme yin. Coincidentally, the Yi family had a dark place that was most suitable for cultivating the concealment technique. Thus, he wanted to go back and concentrate on cultivating. Okay. Yun Jioga nodded, then said to Luo Tian, What about you? I will wait here for you to come back. Luo Tian had already signed a slave contract with Yun Jioga, so he had to fulfill his duty. It's a waste of time waiting for me here. Why don't you go to the 100,000 mountains to find Junichen and cover for me? Yun Jioga said that he had to leave some traces in the 100,000 mountains. Since the eldest miss had instructed, Luo Tian naturally did as she said. Next, Yun Jioga began to pack his luggage and secretly collected Yin attribute materials. Yin pills were not popular in the Thunder Nation. There were very few Yin attribute materials. The more common ones were corpse stargrass and nether bone flower. Yun Jioga did not refuse anything. He collected everything he saw. After spending more than 500 spiritual jades, he managed to collect some. Next, the bone refining materials that the Gong family had collected for him arrived. They filled a storage bag worth 5,000 spiritual jades. They were very sincere. In addition, Yun Jioga also refined many poisons and knockout drugs to protect himself. Without spiritual power, he could only rely on external items. The Thunder Snake illusionary whip definitely could not be used, so he could only temporarily seal it. The pink little mother goo was still in the cocoon. He did not know how long it would take before it evolved, so he had to bring it with him. The Pippy mouse was still unconscious. It looked like it was going to sleep until the end of time. Yun Jioge listened to Zishang's instructions and stuffed the flower spirit pearl he obtained from the bloodthirsty sect into its mouth. He hoped that it would wake up soon and explain the mystery of learning the beast language. He could not tell anyone about going to the corpse sect, but he could tell the treasure-seeking scorpion. Yun Jioge's original intention was for the couple to find another master. After all, there was a certain risk in following her to the corpse sect. However, the treasure-seeking scorpion was determined to follow Yun Jioge to the ends of the earth. He was willing to hide in the bag every day. Seeing that the treasure-seeking scorpion was so sincere, Yun Jioge agreed to let it continue to follow them. The things she prepared filled 3 storage bags. She could not bring this storage bag with her, so she could only let Zishang carry it. No matter what happened, Zishang would be by her side. Yun Jioge settled the inside and outside of the Yun residence. She asked Mother Qing and Elder Hua to look after the house. Then she and Luo Tian quietly went to the 100,000 mountains of Miaojiang. The two of them traveled for 10 days and arrived near the Dabi Mountains. Yun Jioge left a letter and left with Zishang. Chapter 276. Dabi Mountain Demonic Wind Cave. Yun Jioge looked at the dark tomb and expressionlessly asked Zishang, "This is the method you came up with?" "That's right." Zishang nodded. It wasn't easy for him to find such an old tomb. "Do you think I look like a man?" Yun Jioge was speechless. She thought Zishang really came up with a good idea, but it was just a dirty trick. He said that she would pretend to be a youth that entered the cave by mistake and he would pretend to be a 1,000-year-old corpse to pester her. This way they could enter Een Corpse sect. Did he think Een Corpse sect people were stupid? No matter how flat her chest was, she was still a woman. "Eat this illusion grass and you'll become a man." Zishang took out a spirit grass that emitted moonlight. This is the illusion grass that can change one's appearance after eating it? Even a great spirit master can't see through it? Yun Jioge heard that this grass was extinct and didn't expect Zishang to be able to find it. The spirit grass was milky white and only the size of a thumb. The hazy light it emitted was very strong. Looking at it for a long time would make one dizzy. "That's right, try it." Zishang handed it to Yi Jioge. Yun Jioge swallowed the illusion grass. She didn't feel anything special, but when she looked in the mirror she found that she had become very masculine. Her chest was flat and her throat was protruding. She was just short of growing a nipple. Her face was changed by the poison and was completely different from before. Adding on her gender, even Mother Qing wouldn't be able to recognize her if she stood in front of her. "What about you?" Yun Jioge looked at Zishang. Even if he didn't look human, he didn't look like a 1,000-year-old corpse. "That's easy." Zishang's body flashed and his appearance immediately changed. When he was a Yao, he had silver hair and purple eyes. When he was a human, he had black hair and black eyes. Now that he was a corpse, his body immediately emitted a thick death aura. His hair and eyes turned gray. His eyes were gray and extremely faint, looking especially eerie and strange without any emotion or humanity. A faint red appeared between his eyebrows. It looked like a drop of blood or a bloody eye. Looking at it made people tremble, but they couldn't help but look a few more times. Because Zishang, who had turned into a 1,000-year-old corpse, was still very beautiful. "I say, can't you be a little more low-key?" He was still so beautiful even after turning into an old corpse. He must have done it on purpose. "I, the Supreme Overlord, am already very low profile. There was nothing that could be done about it. My appearance is too high. No matter how I try to lower it, I will still be more beautiful than Immortal." Yun Jioge was helpless against Zishang's shameless behavior. He could only ask, "What should we do next?" "There's a corpse driver called Een Shirley near the Dabi Mountains. He's an outer sect disciple of the corpse sect. When he finds us, he'll naturally introduce you to the corpse sect." Zishang had already planned this. Although the Een Corpse sect's requirements for accepting disciples were very low, it was not that easy to enter the core. With a recommender he could save a lot of cultivation techniques. Alright. Yun Jioge had no choice but to wait. Dabi Mountain Blackwater Stronghold. There were only a dozen or so families in this stronghold, and all of them specialized in the business of driving corpses. The chief of the stronghold was called Een Shirley. During this period of time, The villagers often reported to Shirley that something always happened when they drove the zombies through the demonic wind cave. Many of the walking corpses would suddenly kneel on the ground and refuse to move. The demonic wind cave was famous for being a place with heavy energy within a radius of 100 miles. Shirley had explored this place before and discovered a very ancient tomb. There were many pits set up for the living in the surroundings. The owner of the tomb had already turned into a broken skeleton and was not suitable for refining corpses, so he did not pay attention to it. But now that such a strange thing had happened, something must have gone wrong. That night, after midnight, Shirley secretly went to the demonic wind cave. He saw that the energy at the entrance of the cave was black. When the wind blew past, it sounded like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves. A timid person would be scared to death. Shirley cautiously followed the tunnel into the tomb. The deeper he went, the thicker the death energy became. In the end, he discovered that it was as thick as ink. But amidst this thick aura of death, there was a faint fragrance. Shirley's eyes instantly lit up. This fragrance was the smell of a top-grade living corpse. Could there be a corpse king here? He instantly became extremely excited. After joining the corpse sect for so many years, he could only get the status of an outer sect steward. If he could really find a corpse king and present it to the sect master, he would definitely be promoted. Shirley formed a seal with both hands and swiped between his eyebrows. He saw that his entire eye had turned black and was suffused with a faint glow. This was the unique technique that he had cultivated for many years, the corpse pupil. It was especially sharp when used to observe death energy. It was because of this that he became the outer sect steward of the corpse sect. In his pitch-black vision, a thick death energy was as conspicuous as a white light, guiding him to the depths of the tomb. He followed the white light to the coffin of the previous tomb owner and realized that the death energy was coming from below the coffin. Could there be another world under the coffin? Shirley pushed the coffin open and realized that there was indeed a tunnel that led downwards, but it was something that he had not discovered previously. He walked straight down the tunnel and realized that there was actually another tomb underground. Moreover, it was more luxurious than the one above. It's actually a tomb within a tomb. No wonder he did not discover it previously. There was a bronze coffin in the middle of the tomb, and the death energy was extremely thick. Seemed like the corpse king should be inside. Shirley's heart involuntarily jumped a few times. He took out a 7-inch black nail that was densely engraved with corpse-fixing incantations. It was an evil weapon that was specially used to deal with zombies. Shirley took a deep breath and circulated his energy. After pushing the bronze coffin open, he ruthlessly hammered the nail into the coffin without even looking. Ah! A cry of pain came from inside the coffin. Shirley was shocked. No matter how powerful the corpse king was, it was impossible for it to speak. There was actually a living person inside. He took 2 steps back and lit up the torch. His pupil technique also returned to its original state, and he saw a youth in black climbing out of the coffin. He looked like he was only 17 or 18 years old. He had deathly pale skin, light red eyes, and deep purple lips. He had a very strange sense of beauty, and under the light of the fire he was even more dazzling. Who are you? Why did you nail me? Yunjioga looked at the ordinary-looking middle-aged uncle in front of him and questioned him fiercely. They had agreed to accept disciples, but why did they nail him? The people of the corpse sect were really too violent and unreasonable. Sorry, little brother. I thought you were a corpse king, so I wanted to use the soul-suppressing nail to suppress you. Shirley quickly returned to his senses and asked carefully, why is little brother here? I don't know either. Yunjioga held her forehead and pretended to be in a daze. She blurted out the lie that Zhou had made up for her. Her identity was Yunjio, and she grew up in the Dabi Mountains. Her father died early and she lived with her grandfather. Some time ago she accidentally fell into the demonic wind tunnel while hunting, and when she woke up she found herself lying in a coffin. Chapter 277. My grandfather must be very anxious in the mountains. I have to go back, Yunjioga said as he climbed out of the coffin. Is brother Yunjio's grandfather known as the Old Hunter? Shirley asked Yunjioga with a strange expression. How do you know my grandfather's name? Yunjioga raised her eyebrows. She thought that Zhou had made up this identity. She didn't expect him to really exist. Your grandfather passed away a few days ago. The people in your village pooled together some money and asked us to send him to his hometown for burial. This was the order that the Black Wind stronghold had received 10 days ago. It was said that the old hunter had left some money before he died and asked the villagers to help the Black Wind stronghold get rid of the corpse. He said that he wanted to return to his hometown to be buried with his wife who had passed away decades ago. At that time Ian Shirley had asked about the situation. He knew that the old hunter's grandson had died hunting in the mountains some time ago. Even the corpse had not been found. It seemed like it was this demonic youth in front of him. My grandfather is dead. Yun Jioga wanted to pretend to be grief-stricken, but his poisoned face couldn't show much emotion. His eyes only became wet. My condolences, little brother. Ian Shirley sighed and said solemnly, this tomb is very dangerous. Why don't you leave with me first? Although Ian Shirley was the outer sect leader of the Ian Corpse sect, he wasn't a bloodthirsty person. He saw that this youth called Yun Jio looked like he had been poisoned, so he wanted to save his life. No, I can't leave here. Yun Jioga shook his head. His eyes were filled with fear. He will kill me. Who is he? Ian Shirley asked curiously. He is the most perverted, evil and terrifying man in the world. Yun Jioga said as he glanced behind him. Damn, Zhishang still hadn't shown up. She couldn't act anymore. A cold wind suddenly blew in the sealed tomb, bringing with it a faint fragrance. In the next second Ian Shirley was sent flying by a huge force. Then he was grabbed by the neck and lifted into the air. He struggled with all his might and realized that a beautiful living corpse had appeared beside Yun Jioga. Smoke-gray hair and pupils, with a smear of red between the eyebrows, made the eerie and terrifying tomb look like a painting. Ian Shirley was stunned. He even forgot that his life was in the hands of this walking corpse. Let go of him. Yun Jioga slapped Zhishang's arm hard. Don't kill him. Zhishang released his grip expressionlessly and Ian Shirley fell to the ground. Big brother Ian, are you alright? Yun Jioga asked kindly. Cough, cough, cough. Ian Shirley coughed painfully for a long time. Then he looked at Zhishang carefully and asked, is this the terrifying man you were talking about? That's right. He was the one who captured me from Demonic Wind Cave and locked me up here. As Yun Jioga spoke, he lifted his foot and kicked Zhishang's butt, leaving a large footprint on his clothes. Zhishang was infuriated. Unfortunately, he was currently playing the role of a zombie. He couldn't have any expression, so he couldn't teach Yun Jioga a lesson. All he could do was secretly remember this grudge. I see. Ian Tenley instantly understood. The living corpse in front of him was most likely the legendary 1,000-year-old corpse. It was said that this kind of living corpse was agile and had a certain level of intelligence. It would choose a partner with sufficient yang energy to sign a contract with. This young man Yun Jioga was most likely chosen by him. Speaking of which, this young man called Yun Jioga was indeed very good-looking. He used to be a hunter, so his physique was probably not bad. No wonder this living corpse took a liking to him. Big brother Ian, please save me. He won't let me leave this tomb and he's always sucking my blood. Yun Jioga touched his neck. There was probably a hole made by Zhishang's teeth. He's already sucked your blood? Ian Tenley was shocked and asked solemnly, I have a very personal question. Although it's a little offensive, I hope little brother can answer it honestly. This is very likely related to your life. Big brother Ian, please speak. Yun Jioga replied seriously. Have you ever had any intimate physical contact with this Ian corpse? Ian Tenley asked solemnly. An unnatural expression appeared on Yun Jioga's pale face. It wasn't just intimate contact. He was basically forced to dual cultivate with Zhishang every single night. Ian Tenley understood with one look. He let out a sigh and said, looking at little brother's expression, you should have already done it with him. Actually, I've heard before that after some Ian corpses become spirits, in order to pursue yang qi, other than sucking blood, they would also mix with each other. That's why you became like this. What you mean is that I became like this because of this Ian corpse? Yun Jioga found that Ian Tenley was really good at this. He didn't need to say much to help her think of a good reason. That's right. You've been poisoned by a very deep corpse poison. If you don't get rid of it in time, I'm afraid your life will be in danger. Ian Tenley wasn't just being an alarmist. He had been controlling corpses for so many years and had seen too many people die from the corpse poison. Then what should I do? Can't you help me subdue him? Yun Jioga asked. Little brother, this Yin corpse has already become a spirit. Moreover, you already have a blood contract with him. He has already recognized you, so I'm afraid I can't subdue him. Yin Tenli said with pity. He was also very envious of this living corpse. It was a pity that a living corpse with a blood contract had a strong possessiveness towards its contractor. Even if he killed Yunjioga, he wouldn't be able to obtain this living corpse. Instead, he would be chased to the end. Then I can only wait for death like this? Yunjioga shouted in her heart. Hurry up and introduce me to the Yin corpse sect. That's not it. There are so many cultivation techniques in this world, but there is a cultivation technique that can restrain Yin corpses. It is the cultivation technique of the Yin corpse sect, one of the 5 great evil sections. Old brother happens to be the outer sect steward of the Yin corpse sect. If little brother wants to go, I can introduce you to the sect. As long as you learn our sect's profound cultivation technique, you will definitely be able to suppress the corpse poison and live for 100 years. Yin Tenli was very confident in this. No matter what this little brother's talent was, just the fact that he had this kind of Yin corpse meant that he was destined to be an amazing person. Yin corpse sect, that sounds too strange. Yunjioga acted as if she didn't understand the world and was very hesitant. Little brother, it's not that old brother is laughing at you, but I'm afraid that your current experience is even stranger than the Yin corpse sect. Yin Tenli bitterly laughed. Even in the Yin corpse sect, it was very rare for someone to be raped by a 1,000-year-old monk and to be treated as a wife. Old brother is right. Then please introduce me. Yunjioga acted as if he was trying everything in a desperate situation. If that's the case, then I will first teach brother Yunjioga a method to control corpses. Bring this living corpse and follow me down the mountain. We can discuss this further. Yin Tenli asked Yunjioga to drip a drop of blood on Zishang's forehead and communicate with him so that he would cooperate. Before Yunjioga came, he had also studied some cultivation techniques related to controlling corpses. He knew that Yin Tenli's method was very correct, so he did as he was told. After Zishang sucked Yunjioga's blood, he put on an obedient look and obediently followed her down the mountain. Chapter 278. In the Black Wind Stronghold, there were very few people in the day, so the corpse controllers were all resting in their homes. In the middle of the stronghold was a green-tiled and red brick courtyard. This was the home of the stronghold master Yin Shirley. Brother Yunjio doesn't need to be polite, just treat it like your own home. Yin Shirley warmly welcomed Yunjioga into his home. Yunjioga entered the courtyard and smelled a faint corpse aura coming from inside. Ame, I'm back. Yin Shirley shouted towards the house. The red wooden door opened and a young woman wearing a red buffalo dress walked out. She was around 20 years old with an oval face and willow leaf-shaped eyebrows. She was very pretty, but her expression was wooden and her movements were a bit stiff. This is my wife, Ame. Yin Shirley introduced. Yunjioga's eyelids twitched. This Ame was clearly a Yin corpse. Did this fellow have a necrophilia? Following that, a little Yin corpse boy walked out of the house. He was around 5 years old and wore a tiger head hat and a red satin jacket. His eyebrows were very similar to Ame's, but his face and mouth were like Yin Shirley's. One look and you could tell that he was their child. This is my son Huzi. Yin Shirley kindly rubbed Huzi's head and said, Come, say hello to brother Yunjio. Huzi nodded his head in a daze. The tiger head hat slid forward, revealing the back of his head. Yunjioga's sharp eyes saw that the back of Huzi's head was a bit sunken, like it had been hit by something heavy. Huzi was too naughty when he was young. He accidentally fell into the mountain and smashed his head. Ame jumped down after him. I asked an expert to help me protect their corpses. Later on, I learned how to refine corpses and refine them into Yin corpses. Our family is still together, Yin Shirley said calmly. The Yin corpse sect people refined corpses to increase their cultivation and help them in battle, but he refined corpses to reunite with his family. He never gave them orders and just raised them at home. In order to take care of his family, he applied to be a steward of the outer sect and set up the Blackwater stronghold as a corpse controller. On the surface, it was to help those who died in a foreign land return to their homes, but if he found any good corpse refining materials, he would secretly take them and give them to the sect. Big brother Yin is really sentimental. Yunjioga looked at the family and was very touched. It turned out that not every heretic cultivator was a bad person. This Yin surely wasn't bad. Although refining his dead wife and children into corpses and raising them in his home was perverted, it was still much better than Yue and the bloodthirsty ancestor. That night Shirley personally cooked a sumptuous dinner for Jioga. He arranged for them to sleep in the small room at the back. In the dead of the night, Jioga was sleeping soundly when Zishang jumped onto the bed and pulled at her clothes. "Are you crazy? This is Shirley's house. He's sleeping next door." Jioga slapped Zishang's claws away. Although Shirley had refined his wife into a corpse, he didn't use her as a wife. Instead he let her live in the same house as his son. She wouldn't fool around even if she was a proper husband and wife. Zishang was too much of a beast. Even if he turned into a 1,000-year-old corpse, he wouldn't let her off. "It's precisely because he's next door that I want to dual cultivate. Otherwise, how could he believe that I signed a contract with you? Besides, if we don't dual cultivate, your poison will soon take effect." Zishang confidently took off Jioga's pants and then slapped her butt. This stinky girl dared to kick him today. She was looking for a beating. Damn you. Jioga had no choice but to cooperate with Zishang. The two of them quickly joined together. It was still the position of the woman on top and the man on the bottom. This wooden bed was very thin. Even a slight movement would make ee sound. The two of them, one on the top and the other on the bottom, shook the wooden bed until it almost fell apart. Even a dead person would know what they were doing. Jioga thought of Shirley being woken up by them in the next room and felt extremely ashamed. "What are you thinking about? Focus on cultivating." Zishang had a serious expression on his face as he reprimanded her. "Fuck, a 1,000-year-old teacher like you doesn't even care about face. Elder sister will also go all out." Jioga also hardened her heart. She didn't think about the large bed that was about to collapse. She focused on cultivating with Zishang. The iya sounds passed through the thin walls and entered Shirley's ears. He couldn't help but feel that the 1,000-year-old corpse was indeed too ferocious. How could Jioga's small body withstand it? It was better to quickly send him to the sect to cultivate. The earlier he cultivated, the earlier he could get used to this rhythm of being suppressed. After all, he would be suppressed for a lifetime. As Shirley thought about this, he went to the next room to look at his wife and child who were lying stiffly on the bed. His emotions calmed down. He loved his wife and child very much. Sometimes he would also have the impulse of a man. However, he knew very well that his wife was already dead. What was left was only her physical body. His wife had always been very particular about the pleasures of the bedroom. She would never allow him to use her body as a tool. Shirley respected and loved her. Hence, when the people in the sect spoke nonsense, she never quibbled or did anything about it. Speaking of which, he used to admire that 1,000-year-old corpse. He was indeed very valiant. He had just woken up from the ancient tomb, and he immediately kidnapped a man from a good family. He even forced himself on her. He was gay. It would be great if his wife could also cultivate to become a demon and force herself on him. As Shirley thought about this, he gently kissed his wife and child. Then he covered himself with a blanket and fell asleep. Zishang's words were ferocious, but his actions were actually very gentle. After practicing with Jioga for one cycle, he stopped and gently hugged her in his arms. Jioga exhaled a breath of white mist. She lay in Zishang's arms without moving. Ever since the poisonous gas spread, her body always felt cold. Only by hugging Zishang's warm body could she sleep well. "Aren't snakes cold-blooded animals? Why are you so warm?" Jioga stuffed her cold feet into Zishang's thighs. "How many times have I told you? This noble one is not a snake." Zishang placed Jioga's cold feet in his arms and rubbed them. "If you're not a snake, then what are you?" Jioga had also asked Zishang this question countless times. "You wouldn't understand even if I told you." Unfortunately, Zishang always avoided it. He wouldn't say it even if he was beaten to death. Tisk. Jioga snorted in disdain. After she felt that her feet had warmed up, she fell asleep peacefully. She could always sleep peacefully by Zishang's side. Anyway, even if the sky collapsed, Zishang would be there to hold it up. When she slept until dawn, Shirley had already woken up early to cook. "Little brother, did you sleep well last night?" Shirley acted as if he didn't know what happened last night. He still asked very enthusiastically. "It was all right." Jioga sat down calmly. Zishang naturally stuck closely to her side, looking very possessive. Ever since Yin Shirley defined Zhishang as a 1,000-year-old corpse with an extremely strong possessive desire, he had perfectly implemented the 3 words possessive desire. He was the perfect embodiment of the word possessiveness, sticking to Yun Jioga's side at all times. Chapter 279. Yun Jioga could tell that this was probably one of the reasons why Zhishang wanted her to go to corpse sect. In the past he was either sleeping in the imprint or kept a low profile when she asked him to. He probably couldn't hold it in anymore. Now that he found a chance to be by her side openly, he was probably bubbling with happiness. Yin Shirley looked at Zhishang and sighed in his heart again. A 1,000-year-old corpse was indeed different. Its actions were like a living person. Apart from the lack of life and vitality, it was no different from a real person. It would definitely shock people when she went to corpse sect. Brother Yunjio, there are 10 days left before corpse sect accepts disciples. Take this token and you can directly participate in the entrance trial. As long as there are no accidents, it won't be a problem for you to enter the outer sect. Yin Shirley took out a black token with a skull carved on it from his bosom. This token was a good thing. Not only could it prevent Yun Jioga from being questioned and harassed by corpse sect, it also gave her a 90% chance to directly enter the outer sect as a disciple. Thank you, Brother Yin. Yun Jioga took the token and felt that she already had half a foot in corpse sect. We will be in the same sect in the future. When you become rich, don't forget me. Yin Shirley said with a smile. He thought very highly of Yunjio. Of course. Yun Jioga had a good impression of this Yin Shirley. Brother Yunjio, although you are talented in corpse control and have such a powerful 1,000-year-old corpse by your side, it won't be difficult for you to enter the inner sect. However, I still suggest that you don't let him out when you participate in the outer sect selection. It'll be better to start as an outer sect disciple. This was Yin Shirley's experience. Although Yunjio had a 1,000-year-old corpse, he didn't have any cultivation and was poisoned. If he attracted the jealousy of others, they might want to kill him before he matured. Okay, I'll listen to Brother Yin. Yun Jioga originally planned to start as a low-level disciple. She entered corpse sect with her identity hidden. It wasn't good for her to be in the limelight. Starting as an outer sect disciple was also a good way to find out the ins and outs of corpse sect. She really wanted to know how Su Junqing was doing in corpse sect and whose disciple Si Yue was. Speaking of which, Zhishang had beaten the demon corpse and Si Yue half to death last time. He wondered if they had successfully returned to the Yin corpse sect. It would have been great if they had died on the way. Yun Jioga's wish was beautiful, but it was a pity that reality did not go as he wished. Although the Yin corpse had lost 2 arms and his cultivation had dropped, he still successfully brought Si Yue back to the Yin corpse sect's enemy mountain. Outside Cho Sen's cave. Third disciple Jin Yanwei stared in shock at the demon corpse with its broken arms and the unconscious Si Yue on the ground. This demon corpse was a top-quality Yin corpse that his master had carefully refined for many years. Although it was only an intermediate soul master, its body was made of iron and it had a high resistance to spiritual energy, so it was very powerful. He didn't expect that he would be injured to this extent. There was also Si Yue. Although she wasn't Master's direct disciple, she had benefited greatly from Master's charm techniques. His cultivation was not high, but his ability to control corpses was extremely strong, and he was especially good at escaping. Even if he could wake up, he would be a cripple. Jin Yanwei was both shocked and angry in his heart. He very much wanted to immediately rush to Blood Cloud Peak to investigate what exactly was going on, but he did not dare to. The demon corpse and Si Yue were both beaten like this, he would just be sending himself to his death if he went. Why did this happen when his master was bringing his big apprentice brother and second apprentice sister out to visit friends? Jin Yanwei was very anxious. His master had sent Si Yue to deal with the Blood Cloud Peak matter because he didn't want this matter to be exposed. After all, secretly cultivating the Blood Lotus was not allowed by the sect. If this spread out, other than being punished by the sect, the people from the Spirit Practitioner Alliance would not let this go. But he couldn't just leave it like this. At this time he suddenly thought of something. A few days ago, there was a man named Su Junqing who entered the outer sect with Si Yue's token. Perhaps he knew something. Jin Yanwei immediately called over a young disciple and had him go to the outer sect to find Su Junqing. The young disciple quickly came back and reported, "Senior apprentice Brother Jin, Su Junqing is no longer in the outer sect." Then where did he go? Jin Yanwei was shocked. Did he run away? I heard that Su Junqing was recognized by Elder Mo Hua and was accepted as an inner sect disciple. The young disciple said with a look of disdain. Elder Mo Hua was from the He Huan sect before, but after coming to the Yin Corp sect, he still did not change his lecherous nature. He liked to accept young and handsome men as his disciples. Although he was a disciple, he was actually a male pet. Elder Mo Hua? Jin Yanwei immediately knit his brows. Siyue had always looked up to Elder Mo Hua, so the men she brought to the Yin Corp sect must be the type that used their looks. No wonder Elder Mo Hua liked him. Senior apprentice Brother Jin, what do we do now? The young disciple asked. Alright, you can go. I'll personally go to Elder Mo Hua's place. Jin Yanwei was Cho Sen's third direct disciple, so he had a higher status than Su Junqing, who was a male pet. But Su Junqing was currently favored by Elder Mo Hua, so him personally going over was also giving Elder Mo Hua face. Jin Yanwei personally went to Inkflower Peak, but he heard that Su Junqing was in closed-door cultivation refining his Yin corpse. Didn't junior apprentice Brother Su just enter the sect a few days ago? How did he find his own Yin corpse? Jin Yanwei asked the disciple guarding the gate in surprise. Yin corpse sect disciples were very particular about refining their Yin corpses. Not only did they have to match their own 5 elements, they also had to have a special ability to use the Yin corpse to its fullest potential. Many disciples couldn't find a suitable corpse even after entering the sect for several years, so they would rather not refine it. This Su Junqing wouldn't be randomly refining it in order to quickly master his cultivation technique, right? Senior apprentice Brother Su brought a Yin spirit Dao body woman that matches his 5 elements. The Ink Flower Peak disciple said in an envious voice. He still hadn't found a suitable Yin corpse for himself. This brat is quite lucky. Jin Yanwei muttered and then said to the disciple, when junior apprentice Brother Su comes out, let me know. He didn't have time to guard this place, he had to first report the situation of Blood Cloud Peak to his master. Jin Yanwei quickly left, but he didn't know that Su Junqing had just finished refining. He was already at the gate, but after hearing his words he turned back. Su Junqing turned his head to look at the beautiful red-clothed Yin corpse sitting next to him. His palm gently stroked her white and tender skin, his eyes filled with a crazy love. Yunji, the first time I saw you I knew that you were my destined woman. Sure enough, you and I are a match made in heaven. I know that Yi Yu is your only family and you've always loved him. Wait for me to find him and let him be your companion, alright? Chapter 280. Yi Yunji sat there woodenly, her pair of beautiful eyes had long lost the light of life. When Su Junqing brought Yi Yunji to Yin Corp sect, he did not expect her to have a Yin spirit Dao body. Yi Yu and Yi Yunji were biological siblings, he also had a red mole between his eyebrows, and his talent was better than Yi Yunji's. Maybe he also had a special physique. If he could also refine him into a Yin corpse, he would definitely have a place in Yin Corp sect. This way he would not have to worry about Elder Mo Hua getting tired of him and not having a backer. Su Junqing thought of the glorious days in the future and became excited, wishing he could immediately capture Yi Yu. But he quickly suppressed this thought. From Jin Yanwei's tone, Siyue seemed to have encountered something big, and he was afraid it would implicate him. In another 10 days Yin Corp's sect would widely accept disciples. At that time he and Elder Mo Hua would take an errand and hide for a while. 10 days later Yin Corp's sect would open their doors and start accepting disciples. Every year at this time Yin Corp's sect would choose disciples. The threshold to enter was very low, one only needed to be able to recognize words and chant the corpse controlling arts. Compared to the righteous sects that looked at talent, spirit roots and bloodline, this threshold was terrifyingly low. But if a righteous sect accepted 100 disciples, at least 89 of them would successfully survive in the sect. Even if they died, most of them would die outside. In Yin Corp's sect it was the opposite. Out of 1,000 disciples, at most 90 would survive, the rest would die in the sect's battles. Could be imagined how cruel the competition was. Yin Shirley had specially told Yun Jioga about this. A merciful person could not become a disciple of an evil sect. Yun Jioga expressed her understanding. As a righteous person, she disguised herself as a corpse poison youth to enter the demonic sect. If she met those vicious people, she would naturally kill them if she could, getting rid of a scourge for the people. Yunjioga followed Ian Shirley's directions to the foot of Ian Corp's sect, and saw a large crowd of people crowding there to register. Damn, was being an evil cultivator so popular these days? This area of 1,000 miles is Ian Corp's sect's territory. If you want to cultivate, you can only come here. Zhishang followed Yunjioga invisibly and transmitted his voice. Yunjioga thought of a saying, barren mountains and unruly rivers produce unruly people. This Ian Corp's sect was surrounded by deep mountains and forests, with very little fertile land. The commoners probably did not have a good life. When the days really couldn't go on, there was no other way out but to become an evil cultivator. In the center of the crowd was a circle of blood-red tables and chairs. Behind them stood 4 men and 4 women. They were registering the people who had come to register. There was a red form on each table. Those who wanted to sign up had to fill in their names, ages, places of origin, spiritual roots, and other information. Finally, they would sign their names and leave their blood stamp on it. The Ian Corp sect can use this blood mark to verify whether your information is true or not. Yunjioga didn't need to fill in the form. He just needed to drip his blood on the token that Ian Shirley had given him. She took the token and walked directly to the blood-red table. Behind the table stood a woman in her early 30s. Other than the Ian Corp's sect's skeleton mark on her chest, there was also a small black flower, which meant that she was Elder Mo Hua's disciple. Her eyebrows were slender and the corners of her eyes were raised. There was a black mole under her eye. She could be considered pretty, but she didn't look very decent. Blackwater Strongholds Ian Shirley recommended me. Yunjioga handed over the token. The female disciple took the token and glanced at it. Then she looked at Yunjioga. Her gaze looked like she was raping her. This was the first time in Yunjioga's life that a woman looked at her. However, her poisoned face didn't show any expression. What's the name of this handsome little man? The female disciple's eyes were curved and she smiled very lewdly. This handsome little man was really not bad. Just looking at him made one's heart itch. Yunjio. Yunjioga replied calmly. Yunjio, is it? Take this token and walk straight in. That's the place where the outer sect disciples test. When the female disciple returned the token to Yunjioga, she even used her pinky to hook Yunjioga's palm. She said ambiguously, if you don't pass, come back and find Big Sister. Big Sister will think of a way for you. Yunjioga took the token expressionlessly. Then she walked along the path at the side and walked inside. After walking for a long time, she could still feel the female disciple's gaze following her like a shadow. It was as if she wanted to eat her up. Little Jioga is very popular. Zhishang was still gloating at the side. This is the reason why you wanted me to pretend to be a man, right? Yunjioga had already experienced the degree of openness between men and women in the Ian Corp's sect from the female disciple just now. If the female disciple was already so thirsty, then there was no need to say about the male disciple. If she entered as a female, she would probably be surrounded by perverts. All of them would want to sleep with her. That's right. Zhishang admitted very straightforwardly. Seeing Yunjioga being teased by the demonic woman was very interesting. However, if she was teased by the demonic man, he was afraid that he would not be able to control himself and kill her. You win. Yunjioga was also convinced by Zhishang. When Yunjioga arrived at the outer sect disciples' test field, she saw that there were already many people standing on the empty ground. There were about 100 people. There were men, women, old and young. Many of them were wearing strange clothes. With one look she could tell that they were not good people. When they saw her enter, many people looked at her with obscure gazes. Even among these strange people, her bewitching appearance was very outstanding. Big Sister, did that guy eat something wrong? Why is he so handsome? A lively and cute voice sounded. Yunjioga turned her head and saw a pair of beautiful twin sisters standing there. Although they only looked to be 15 or 16 years old, they were already quite charming. The older sister was called Lu Mei Er. She wore a dark red dress and had a beautiful appearance, faintly revealing her charm. The younger sister was called Lu Tian Er. She wore a light yellow dress and had the same appearance as the older sister. However, she appeared to be innocent and cute. The one who spoke just now was the younger sister. If little sister likes him, then let's go get to know him. Lu Mei Er also smiled and brought Lu Tian Er over to Yunjioga. Yunjioga, however, directly avoided them. She felt that she must have had some bad luck this year. Why were there women who liked her everywhere? She was clearly avoiding them and did not give the two sisters any face. They were immediately put on the spot. Big sister, does he hate us? Lu Tian'er was suddenly on the verge of tears and looked pitifully at Lu Mei-er. Probably because he looks down on us vulgar people. Lu Mei-er also sighed. When the two sisters put on this appearance, a few pursuers immediately wanted to stand up for them. Hey kid, what do you mean? An arrogant and despotic short man walked toward Yunjioga and said arrogantly, if you know what's good for you, then apologize to little sister Lu Clan. Otherwise I will beat you until you lie down. Yunjioga instantly felt that everyone was staring at her. If she showed weakness here, she would immediately be drowned by the wolves. This was the survival law of the evil sections. Chapter 281. Although Yunjioga had already lost her spiritual power, these three hooligans were still not a problem. She flicked her finger and the colorless and odorless black wind powder floated onto the short strong man's body. The short strong man's body trembled and he knelt on the ground in fear. What did you do to me? The short strong man desperately scratched the itch, leaving red marks on his arm, but he did not feel anything. Nothing, I just gave you some itching powder. If there is no antidote, you will probably die from the itch. Yunjioga said expressionlessly. Lord, this lowly one had eyes but did not recognize Mount Tai. Please spare my dog life. The short strong man was also flexible and immediately begged for mercy while crying. The surrounding people all looked at this and the unfriendly gazes immediately decreased a lot. The Lu sisters were even more speechless. Fighting could use cultivation, but going against a poison master was courting death. Yunjioga saw that the deterrent effect had been achieved, so she flicked her finger and sprinkled the antidote and said, Scram. Thank you, Lord. The short strong man immediately ran away in fear. Yunjioga continued to wait. Some of the more sophisticated people in the surrounding people wanted to come up and greet her, but they were all coldly rejected by her. She came here to secretly learn, so there was no need to be friendly with them. After the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, a youth wearing a black inner sect disciple robe finally walked out from the inner sect mountain path. He was very handsome and had an amiable smile on his face, making people feel happy at first glance. Yunjioga's heart tightened when she saw this person. Su Junqing. She did not expect him to be in charge of the outer sect disciple test. One must know that accepting a disciple was a very important matter. Even evil cultivator sects would send their most trusted disciple to be in charge. Su Junqing had only been in the Immerse sect for a long time, but he was able to take over this kind of work. This meant that he was doing very well here. Everyone, I am Su Junqing, in charge of this outer sect disciple test. This test topic is bone picking. Su Junqing said a few words, then directly announced the content of the test. The content of the test was very simple. It was to go to the mass grave and find a skeleton that they thought had the most spirituality. The stronger the spirituality of the skeleton they found, the better the treatment they would receive in the sect in the future. Other than corpse control, our Immerse sect also has all kinds of puppet techniques. Among them, refining bones is the most common. Bones are the foundation of the human body. First learn the bone refining technique, then you can refine corpses. Picking bones is also a very common practice for Immerse sect outer disciples, so everyone must work hard. Su Junqing kindly explained. Senior, none of us have learned the art of looking at bones. How do we know which skeleton has spirituality? Lu Tian'er blinked her big watery eyes with a face of ignorance. I will give you a bone measuring talisman. As long as you stick it on the bones you like, you will be able to test the spirit force contained in the bones. However, this talisman can only be used once, so everyone must be careful when using it. Su Junqing said with a smile. Yunjioga immediately understood the purpose of this test. This was encouraging everyone to snatch their opponent's bone-measuring talismans. The more talismans he snatched, the higher his chances of finding a spiritual skeleton. Even if it was stolen, there was no need to be afraid. Just bring back a random skeleton. If you guessed correctly, it proved that your luck was not bad, that you had good fortune, and that you were worth nurturing. This test was killing many birds with one stone. Everyone line up and come get your talismans. Su Junqing gave out the bone-measuring talismans one by one. Yunjioga expressionlessly took the bone-measuring talismans, ignoring Su Junqing's glance. When the Lu sisters received the talismans, they faintly gave Su Junqing a flirtatious look. He tacitly accepted it. When everyone received the talismans, they immediately spread out and looked at the people next to them with vigilance and greed in their eyes. Big sister, the mass grave is very gloomy, I'm scared. Lu Tian'er pulled Lu Mei Er's sleeve and pitifully said, "Don't be afraid, you'll get used to it." Lu Mei Er comforted her little sister, but her face was a bit pale. "Beauties, don't be afraid, I'll protect you." The short man who was drugged by Yun Jioge immediately came forward. Then there were a few men who were interested in the Lu sisters, fighting to be the flower protectors. A group of men protected the two sisters, majestically walking towards the mass grave. Yun Jioge looked at them and chose the opposite direction. She had just revealed her poison attack, so no one dared to have any ideas about her talismans. She also had no interest in stealing from others. Yun Jioge directly arrived at the mass grave. Although the sun was still hanging in the sky, the mass grave was filled with yin energy. Gray fog shrouded the sky, the ground was filled with eerie white bones, and one could even see ghost flames floating in the air. "There aren't any spiritual corpses outside, we have to go inside," Xianxia said in Yun Jioge's ear. "Then let's go." Yun Jioge just wanted to find a random set of corpses to complete her task. The fog in the depths of the mass grave was even thicker, completely blocking out the sunlight, and a cold and damp air rose from the ground. Yun Jioge was originally a bit afraid of the cold, and now she felt like she was soaking in ice water. She ate 2 warm yang pills and only then did she feel a bit better. "Bear with it a bit more, you'll be fine after you practice the yin corpse sex cultivation method," Xianxia comforted from the side. Yin corpse sect mainly controlled corpses, but the yin energy of the corpses was too thick, and the corrosive power was very strong after being together for a long time. Yin corpse sex cultivation method was to convert the yin energy into spiritual energy, reducing the damage to the body, and it was very suitable for Yun Jioge's current situation. "I'm fine." Yun Jioge was used to the cold. What she was not used to was that her dantian was now empty, and without spiritual energy she could not open her spiritual eye. It was very difficult to find corpses with spiritual energy just by relying on that talisman. It was easy to rely on Xianxia, but Yun Jioge did not want to rely on him until the very last moment, so she decided to try it herself. The white bones on the ground were very messy, and Yun Jioge did not find a complete set of bones after walking 1 round, but she was not willing to dig up the grave. At this moment, the treasure-seeking scorpion suddenly popped out from Xianxia's bag and called out to Yun Jioge, "Master, there's a treasure." "What treasure?" Yun Jioge looked at the treasure-seeking scorpion in surprise, and almost forgot about it. "I smell a very fragrant smell." The treasure-seeking scorpion jumped down impatiently. It circled around the mass grave with its fat tail needle, and finally stopped in front of a withered old locust tree. The old locust tree was very big and it needed 3 people to encircle it. The leaves were withered and the branches were grayish-white as though it was half dead. The treasure-seeking scorpion circled around the old locust tree a few times, and then burrowed into the ground. After a moment it popped out and said with certainty, "The treasure is underneath. Dig it." Yun Jioge looked at Xianxia. She did not have any spiritual energy and did not have any tools, so she could only rely on Xianxia for this kind of hard work. Xianxia did not refuse and half-squatted on the ground and placed his palm under the big locust tree. The brown soil, along with the broken bones, retreated to the side, and revealed an incomparably thick grayish-white tree root, which looked like a small coffin. Chapter 282. Xianxia's fingernails extended and cut a hole on the tree root. Gray yin qi spewed out and fog filled the air. Yun Jioge waved his palm to get rid of the fog and saw that the yin qi in the center of the tree root was as thick as water. A small gray corpse was curled up inside like a baby. It looked like a 3 or 4-year-old child. Although its bones were like a human's, its head was like a monkey's. Profound yin white bone monkey. Xianxia raised his eyebrows and looked at Yun Jioge in admiration. "You're really lucky. This profound yin white bone monkey is condensed from extreme yin energy. If you refine it into a puppet and keep it by your side, it will be extremely beneficial for cultivating the yin corpse sex cultivation method." Yun Jioge was currently in the outer sect. It was not suitable for a 1,000-year-old corpse like him to appear in front of people. Having a profound white bone monkey puppet by his side would be of great help to him. Fat Scorpion, good job. Yun Jioga happily rewarded treasure-seeking Scorpion with 2 bottles of cherry pills. This fat Scorpion was always very helpful at crucial times. Ji. Treasure-seeking Scorpion happily hugged the 2 bottles of cherry pills and climbed back into the cloth bag to find his wife. Yun Jioga wanted to stick the bone-testing talisman on the monkey bone but was stopped by Zhi Shang. This talisman has Su Juanqing's divine sense on it. If he finds anything good, he will know immediately. Su Juanqing is really despicable. Testing to become an outer sect disciple and still wants to get some benefits. I look down on him. Yun Jioga muttered as she put away the profound white bone monkey. Then she randomly found a white skeleton that looked good and stuck the bone-testing talisman on it. The red bone-testing talisman flashed with a faint white light. This meant that although this skeleton contained spiritual energy, it was very little. But no matter what, she had completed her mission. Yun Jioga brought the skeleton back and found that most of the other people had arrived. The Lu sisters stood at the very front. The flower protectors from before had already disappeared. They had probably become part of the mass grave. It seemed that these 2 sisters were not as naive as they looked. They should have some ability. After all, in a place like the Corp sect, one could not obtain everything by selling one's body. Other than the flower protectors, there were still a dozen or so people missing. Currently there were only 80 or so people left. The competition between the evil sects was cruel and fierce. Yun Jioga secretly sized up the Lu sisters. He saw that their clothes were clean and they were in high spirits. They didn't look like they had just fought. He didn't know how they had killed those flower protectors. The white bones placed in front of the 2 sisters were very complete. The bones were pure white, and one could tell at a glance that it was rich in spiritual energy. Yun Jioga silently placed the skeleton he had picked up on the table and waited for Su Juanqing to inspect it. After Su Juanqing swept out with his spiritual consciousness, he suddenly felt a little disappointed. Among these skeletons, only the bones brought back by the Lu sisters were filled with spiritual power. The others weren't high-grade goods. He had heard that there was a senior who was in charge of this test, and a disciple found a skeleton with profound spiritual power. Later it was discovered that the disciple was born with dark pupils. That senior martial brother not only picked a good seedling for his mountain peak, but also obtained a good skeleton. It was really a big profit. He had heard of this matter, so he asked Elder Mo Hua for this task. He didn't expect that the harvest this time was really not that good. When Su Juanqing thought of this, he couldn't help but glance at the Lu sisters and Yun Jioga. He thought to himself, this pair of sisters is not bad, I can develop them. And that youth called Yun Jio Elder Mo Hua should like this kind of appearance. Unfortunately, he's too young and looks like a virgin. He probably won't be able to satisfy Elder Mo Hua's desires. It's better to nurture him first. Yun Jioga stood on the spot expressionlessly. Although Su Juanqing's pimping gaze was hidden, she still noticed it. If it wasn't for the fact that the situation wasn't right, she really wanted to rush up and break his teeth so that she could interrogate him about Yi Yunji's whereabouts. Calm down. Zhi Shang's voice came from beside her. This Corp sect was after all a big evil sect. If she gave herself away, she could forget about staying here. Yun Jioga was also very clear about this. She lowered her face and didn't look at Su Juanqing anymore. The skeletons that everyone picked are not bad. The most outstanding are the 2 Lu sisters and next is Yun Jio's. After Su Juanqing made his evaluation, he put all the skeletons into his own pocket. These talismans were all provided by the sect, so the spoils of war naturally belonged to the sect as well. It could be considered as one of the benefits for the disciples in charge of recruiting. The Lu sisters were ranked first, so they received a bottle of energy pills as a reward. Yun Jioga received half a bottle and the rest were counted by pills. After the rewards were distributed, many people's gazes turned to the Lu sisters and Yun Jioga. They were filled with envy, jealousy and hatred. Yun Jioga chose to ignore them. After the Lu sisters thanked Su Juanqing sweetly, they surrounded him and asked all sorts of questions to get close to him. It could be seen that Su Juanqing was very fond of the 2 sisters. His smile was especially gentle and amiable. However, he was here to receive the outer sect disciples after all, so he didn't stick to the Lu sisters for too long. Soon he talked about official business again. Congratulations on becoming the outer sect disciples of our Een Corpse sect. This is your identity token. Everyone drip your blood on it and make it your master later. Make sure to keep it safe. This not only represents your identity, but it will also be very useful in the future. Later, everyone will follow the map on this booklet and go to the logistics department to receive your benefits before finding a place to stay. Su Junqing gave everyone a palm-sized gray token and a yellow booklet. After saying a few words of encouragement, he left. Yun Jioga let out a sigh of relief. This test was easier than she had imagined. It was all thanks to Een Shirley. Yun Jioga opened the booklet and carefully looked through it. She had a preliminary understanding of the Een Corpse sect situation. The Een Corpse sect was built on a mountain range filled with Een energy. It extended for dozens of miles. The inner sect was divided into 4 mountain peaks. Other than the main peak, the Een Corpse peak, which was occupied by the sect master, the 3 elders each stood on a mountain peak. They were respectively Elder Cho Sen's enemy peak, Elder Inkflower Peak, Elder Whitebone Peak. The outer sect had 6 small mountain peaks. The main peak was where the Skill Teaching Hall, Mission Hall, Medicinal Pill Pavilion, and Weapon Refining Pavilion were located. The other 5 mountain peaks each had 1,000 disciples. They were arranged according to their numbers. Yun Jioga was assigned to the second mountain peak. She followed the map on the booklet to the second mountain peak where the logistics department was distributed. She received the standard of an inner sect disciple. The Een Corpse sect was worthy of being a large sect. Every disciple had a red storage bag, a set of gray disciple robes. There were 2 runes embroidered on the door: cleaning and deodorizing. A low grade 1 white bone spike. A low grade 1 corpse control bell. A basic entry cultivation technique. The storage bag space was very small. It was only the size of a cabinet. But it was already very good for a new disciple. The white bone spikes were 2 wide and 3 feet long. They were sharp and could be considered a good weapon. The corpse control bell was gray. Compared to the blood chi bell of the bloodthirsty ancestor, it was simply trash. Could just barely control the white bone spikes. It was still a bit difficult to use it to control corpses. Chapter 283. Yun Jioga took the things and went to the small bungalow that the outer sect disciples lived in. The bungalow was quite big, but there were only old tables and chairs and a moldy smell. Yun Jioga was quite satisfied with this. She was worried that she would have to share a room with a group of male disciples. Coincidentally, the Lu sisters lived next to Yun Jioga and they even squeezed into the same bungalow. At this moment, the door of their room was closed and there was no sound. Who knew what they were doing inside? What's with that look? It's like a pervert who covets beauties. Zishang teased Yun Jioga. Teach, if sister wants to covet someone, it's a pretty boy, okay? Yun Jioga retracted her gaze from the Lu sisters' door. Pretty boy, are you talking about that? Zishang's gaze floated to the right. A fat boy walked out of the bungalow on the right. He wore the outer sect disciples' gray robes tightly and his body was round like a ball. May I ask for senior brother's name? My name is Jin Lin. We will be neighbors in the future. Please give me some pointers, senior brother. Little fatty Jin Lin grinned. There were 2 deep dimples on his chubby face, making him look very likable. Yun Jioga ignored little fatty's greeting and closed the door with a bang. You're too rude. Zishang noticed that Yun Jioga was becoming more and more antisocial after being poisoned. If you're polite, then go greet him. Yun Jioga's image was cold and antisocial, rejecting all the Een Corpse sect disciples' attempts to rope him in. Zishang was speechless. Not to mention that he couldn't show himself. Even if he did, he would be an expressionless living corpse that couldn't speak. Greeting him was impossible. Oh right, during the outer sect test I don't think I saw this little fatty. Yun Jioga asked Zishang. She knew that Zishang was very good at recognizing people and never relied on looks. Indeed not. Zishang nodded. So he was selected from the outside? Yun Jioga thought about the people that filled the mountains and valleys to register. This little fatty was able to pass the selection so quickly. It seemed like he wasn't a normal person. There was one more person worth paying attention to. Don't think about those useless things. The most important thing now is to cultivate. Zishang urged. Yun Jioga took out the outer sect disciple cultivation technique and started studying it with Zishang. The division of cultivation in a large sect was different from that of a spiritualist. According to the density of their spiritual energy, they were divided into the Qi refining stage, the foundation establishment stage, the golden core stage, the nascent soul stage, and the soul formation stage. The corresponding realms of a spiritualist were a rudimentary spiritualist, 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 and spiritualist. There were 10 stages in the Qi refinement stage, and once one reached the peak of the Qi refinement stage, one would have the opportunity to become an inner disciple. Once they entered the foundation establishment stage, they would become elite disciples. If he could form his gold core, that would be awesome. He could totally become an elder. As for nascent soul cultivators and soul formation cultivators, they were all old monsters. They rarely stayed in the faction. They would go to the spiritual city, which was a higher level, to find great opportunities. Xianxia carefully examined the technique and said, "There's no problem with this technique. You can practice it." Although this outer sect Yin technique could not compare to the core cultivation technique, the Yin corpse bone controlling technique, it was just right for Yunjioge. "Then I'll start practicing." Yunjioge took out the bottle of Yin energy pills that Su Junqing had just rewarded her. Although this bottle of Yin energy pills was of low grade, she didn't have any suitable Yin energy pills on hand, so she could only make do with it. "Practice it. I'll help you guard," Xianxia said. Yunjioge swallowed a Yin energy pill and sat cross-legged on the bed. She began to circulate and absorb the Yin energy according to the technique. Wisps of gray Yin energy rose from her dantian. It guided the poisonous gas from the 9 broken bones to circulate in her body. It felt like ants were crawling over her. It was an indescribable sour feeling. This was the slightest reaction from the poisonous gas. If she couldn't even endure this, she could forget about expelling the poisonous gas. Yunjioge gritted her teeth and persevered. When she finished, she was already sweating profusely and smelled sour. "How do you feel?" Xianxia held a red paper doll in his hand and asked with concern. "What is this?" Yunjioge looked at the lifelike red paper doll in Xianxia's hand. Its small hands and feet were still struggling. "It's just a little bug that wants to get some information." This method of using Yin energy to control the paper doll was a kind of crafty technique. In the territory of the evil sects and demonic sects, it was not strange for someone to know this method. "Let me see." Yunjioge stretched out her hand. Xianxia handed the red paper doll over. Yunjioge touched it and felt that the red paper doll was wet and cold. It was especially disgusting. She immediately stuffed it back to Xianxia. "Is it the Lu sisters or that little fatty?" The two of them lived next door. They were the most likely to come to investigate. "It should be the Lu sisters." Xianxia deduced based on the direction the red paper doll came from. "You really do have some skills." She knew that the Lu sisters were not as simple as they seemed. "It doesn't matter if you have 8 skills. Hurry up and train your corpse control technique to the first level, then learn the puppet technique." Xianxia rubbed his fingers and the red paper doll was burned to ashes. He was prepared to personally refine the mystic Yin skeleton monkey. However, if Yunjioge wanted to take it back for her own use, she still had to learn the puppet technique. "How do you even know how to refine puppets?" Yunjioge couldn't help but admire Xianxia. Although this guy often pretended to be weak, it felt like nothing could stump him. Who asked this sovereign to be a 1,000-years-old teacher? Xianxia smiled. The longer he lived, the more he knew. "You really are addicted to being wet." Yunjioge rolled her eyes. "Tonight you will know how powerful this old teacher is." Xianxia winked ambiguously. Because it was not convenient to do it in the Yin Corp sect, they only did it once every 3 days. The process was also very fast. It was just to prevent Yunjioge's dantian from exploding. Scram. Yunjioge didn't want to tease him. She took out the corpse control bell and prepared to test the white bone thorn. The great Tao of the world was the same. Controlling the corpse control bell was similar to controlling the lightning snake illusionary whip. Yunjioge quickly infused spirit energy into the corpse control bell. Then she shook the bell. The runes on the white bone thorn lit up and slowly rose into the sky. "Go." Yunjioge pointed at the broken table. The white bone thorn turned into a stream of light and pierced through, leaving a round hole on the wooden table. Although its power was far inferior to the lightning snake illusionary whip, it was still passable. Yunjioge controlled the white bone thorn to fly up and down the house a few times. Only when the yin qi in her body was completely exhausted did she stop and continue to cultivate. After Yunjioga finished the half bottle of yin qi pills, her outer sex yin qi finally reached the first level of qi refinement. She could be considered to have successfully entered the ranks of cultivators. Under Zhi Shang's urging, Yunjioga went to the main peak's technique inheritance pavilion to ask about the puppet technique. The main peak was bustling with people coming and going. The technique inheritance pavilion was built in a very imposing manner. The stone door was 10 meters tall. It was very spacious inside, but it was not open to disciples. There was only a small window in the middle. A gray elder sat behind the window. Chapter 284. Senior, I want to learn the puppet method. What are the conditions? Yunjioga asked the old man. The old man lifted his eyelids and glanced at Yunjioga before replying indifferently, 300 contribution points. So many contribution points. Yunjioga was speechless. The Yin Corpse sect did not accept spirit jades or spirit stones. If one wanted to learn cultivation techniques or exchange for pills, they all needed contribution points. Yunjioga and the other outer sect disciples could stay for half a month for free. But after the free period ended, they had to pay 30 contribution points every month. Otherwise they would be stripped of their disciple status and sent to the mass grave. These contribution points could be bought with spirit jades, 1 spirit jade for 1 contribution point. Although Yunjioga could take out 300 spirit jades, it was too conspicuous, no disciple would do it. Other than buying with spirit jades, they could also do sect missions to exchange for it. This was more in line with the needs of the disciples, and it was also a mutually beneficial thing for the sect. Yunjioga did not have contribution points, so she could only earn it. She thanked the gray-robed old man and went to the mission hall. The mission hall was bigger than the technique teaching pavilion. It was filled with outer sect disciples, each choosing a mission. Yunjioga had good eyesight, she could clearly see the situation inside. The mission hall had a total of 13 pillars, on top of which were densely packed mission lists. From left to right it was low-level, middle-level and high-level missions. The lowest-level missions were helping to clean the graveyard, picking up bones to wash bones, patrolling. These were all manual labor and the rewards were very low. The middle-level missions had high rewards, but the requirements were very high and there was a certain amount of risk. The high-level missions required one to be at refining rank 5. With Yunjioga's current cultivation, she could not even go take a look. Yunjioga walked around the mission hall. She found that it was not easy to earn 30 contribution points every month. Those jobs that were not life-threatening were very tedious. After completing them, there was no time to cultivate. Even if one could survive in the outer sect, if one's cultivation did not improve, one would only be bullied. The missions with high rewards were also dangerous. For example, there was a middle-level mission to kill Yin ghosts to collect Yin Qi. Each bottle of Yin Qi could be exchanged for 10 contribution points. If one's cultivation was not enough, they could only become food for the Yin ghosts. How about this mission? Yunjioga wanted to take the mission to kill Yin ghosts. Whether it was refining pills or refining corpses, the Yin Corpse sect required a large amount of Yin energy. Therefore, this task of killing Yin ghosts and collecting Yin Qi was available every day, and it was also a task that outer disciples liked to do. It's too conspicuous for you to accept this mission right after advancing. Start with the lowest level mission and advance step by step. Zhi Shang wanted to let Yunjioga familiarize himself with the Yin Corpse sect situation. All right. Yunjioga accepted all the low-level quests on the quest list. Every day after she finished practicing, she would clean up the graveyard, pick up the bones, mop the ground and clean the whole mountain. Although it was exhausting, he quickly familiarized himself with the Yin Corpse sect situation. She realized that not all of these outer sect disciples were evil people. The reason why they joined the Yin Corpse sect was because they grew up in the territory of the Devil sect. It couldn't be helped. You grew up in the territory of the Demon sect. If you ran to a righteous sect, they wouldn't dare to put you in an important position. Yunjioga finally understood why Zhi Shang had asked him to change his name and gender to go to the Debi Mountains. Only by removing all traces of the past could he integrate into the Yin Corpse sect. Yunjioga spent a month to finish all the low-level quests and finally earned 300 contribution points. She also successfully entered the second layer of Qi condensation. She once again went to the Technique Inheritance Pavilion and used contribution points to exchange for a puppet cultivation method. Then she returned to the cottage with Zhou and prepared to refine the profound white bone monkey. The most important part of refining the profound white bone monkey was to create a talisman liquid with spiritual power. This talisman liquid required many materials, among which the corpse stargrass was the most important. Fortunately, Yunjioga had prepared a large amount of attribute materials before coming to the corpse sect, including the corpse stargrass. Zhou crushed the corpse stargrass and added Yunjioga's blood essence to create a solvent. Then he dipped his index finger in the talisman liquid and drew a talisman on the white bone monkey. The red blood talisman quickly seeped into the white bones and the originally lifeless skeleton gained a trace of spiritual energy. When the puppet was about to be refined, Zhou suddenly stopped and drew a formation on the ground. "What are you doing?" Although Yunjioga wasn't familiar with formations, she could tell that Zhou was drawing a soul-spiking formation. "This broken house is too simple. I'm afraid that after the white bone monkey is formed, its spiritual energy will leak out and be discovered." Zhou replied without raising his head. "Is it that exaggerated?" Yunjioga didn't think much of it. Wasn't it just a puppet? Could it be refined into a divine weapon? After Zhou finished drawing the formation, he continued to draw talismans for the profound white bone monkey. When he finished drawing the last blood talisman, a cold wind suddenly blew in the house. The surrounding tables, chairs and beds were all blown to pieces. Yunjioga's hair danced wildly and her clothes were blown up by the cold wind. Fortunately, the cold wind only blew within the circle that Zhou had drawn. If it had blown to the roof, the tiles on it would have been blown away. As the cold wind blew, the monkey's skull in the circle suddenly emitted 2 bean-sized flames. Following that, a cracking sound could be heard. The small white bone monkey stood up from the ground. Its head was big and its body was small, just like a bean sprout. The huge head looked left and right and finally came in front of Yunjioga and stared at her blankly. The white bone monkey's red eyes looked quite horrifying. The small white bone monkey's mouth moved up and down as if it was talking to Yunjioga. Unfortunately, Yunjioga only understood the beast language and not the ghost language. Although she didn't understand the ghost language, she could vaguely feel that this small white bone monkey was begging her to protect it. To say it really became a spirit. Right now your spiritual sense is too weak and you still can't control it well. But once you cultivate it, there won't be a problem. Zhou's white jade-like forehead was dripping with sweat and his handsome face had a trace of exhaustion. Could be seen that refining this profound white bone monkey was not easy. "Are you all right?" Yunjioga took out a handkerchief to wipe Zhou's sweat. "I'm fine." Zhou shook his head and pointed at the profound white bone monkey. "Keep it first. There's no place to put it." Although this white bone monkey was small, her broken storage bag couldn't fit it. "Just let it disperse." Zhou ordered the white bone monkey. "Disperse." The profound white bone monkey automatically disintegrated, turning into a pile of bones that were neatly stacked. A small bag was enough to keep it. "It's really convenient." Yunjioga stuffed the small bag into her storage bag. "Could be said to be perfect. Since you've already advanced, then go and accept the mission to kill the ghost." Zhou felt that Yunjioga was already mature enough. It was time to train. Building a car behind closed doors was not a solution. One had to learn and use it, turning the skill into combat power. Most importantly, this chi was of great use to them. Chapter 285. Alone. With Yunjioga's current cultivation level, it would be dangerous for her to go to the chi graveyard alone. "It's fine. Just bring the Xian white bone monkey with you." Zhou would not let Yunjioga take the risk. "Will the little monkey do?" The white bone monkey's arms and legs were as thin as reeds. It would be lucky if the ghosts did not break them apart. "Don't underestimate it. It's much more powerful than you." How could a puppet that he had personally refined be weak? "I hope so." Since Zhou had said so, Yunjioga obediently went to the mission hall to accept the mission to kill the ghosts. She did not expect that the disciple on duty at the mission hall today would be Yunjioga's neighbor, little fatty Jean Lin. Yunjioga looked at little fatty again. To be on duty at the mission hall, one must have a backer or connections. This little fatty was not simple. "Senior Yunjio, have you found a team to kill the ghosts? Do you want me to introduce you to a reliable team?" Little Fatty took Yunjioga's mission list and asked enthusiastically. No need. Yunjioga coldly refused. Little Fatty was not angry. He helped her register her information and gave her the token to enter the Yin Ghost graveyard. He asked, do you want to rent or buy the Yin Chi bottle? How much does it cost to rent and how much does it cost to buy? Yunjioga knew that Yin Chi bottles were needed to kill the Yin ghosts, but she did not know much about the market. A rank 1 Yin Chi bottle can hold 100 Yin ghosts. It costs 1 contribution point for 3 days to rent. It costs 50 contribution points for 1. If you can afford it, it's better to buy 1, Little Fatty explained carefully. I'll buy 1. Yunjioga's next mission was to kill the Yin ghosts. It was indeed better to buy 1. Then take it. After Little Fatty took 50 contribution points from Yunjioga's token, he swiftly packed a Yin Chi bottle and gave it 2 death talismans. This is an internal benefit. Next time you can come to me when you want to buy something. You'll get a discount. Little Fatty said with a smile. Yunjioga did not say anything. She took the items and left. The Yin Chi bottle was pure white. It was about the same size as the vases used to arrange flowers. The only difference was that the bottle had a red Yin gathering and spirit rune engraved on it. It's so expensive to inscribe a rune. If I had known, I would have asked you to make one for me, Yunjioga muttered. However, she was only joking. It would be too eye-catching if she really took out a bottle of Yin energy that she had made herself. I told you to learn talisman patterns, but you refused. Zhou took the opportunity to lecture him. I'm so tired from training every day. How could I learn so much? Yunjioga was not very talented when it came to runes. She looked at the wavy lines that resembled tadpoles and naturally lost interest in them. Zhou couldn't do anything about it. Talent was a mysterious thing. Before Yunjioga was enlightened, it would be very difficult for her to learn runes. He did not want to force her. He would take it one step at a time. The entrance to the Yin energy graveyard was a pair of large stone doors that opened every hour. Yunjioga thought that she had arrived very early. She did not expect that there were already 8 disciples standing at the door. It looked like they were in a group. Although they were all dressed in gray, these outer sect disciples were obviously veterans. The leader was a tall, skinny man with triangular eyes and broom-like eyebrows. He was at the 3rd level of the Qi refining stage and was obviously not a good person. When he saw Yunjioga, broom-like eyebrows looked her up and down. He laughed contemptuously and said, "Young man, you've got guts. You're only at the 2nd level of the Qi refining stage, but you dare to come to the Yin Qi graveyard alone?" Yunjioga did not even look at him. She stood in a corner and waited for the Yin Qi graveyard to open. "Young man, you're really something." Broom-like eyebrows was about to come over to pick a fight with Yunjioga when another group of disciples appeared in the distance. There were a total of 13 of them. The Lu sisters were among them. The 2 sisters had already advanced to the 2nd level of the Qi refining stage. Although they were also wearing gray robes, they had altered the waists, collars and cuffs of their robes, making their bodies look even more voluptuous. The 2 sisters were beautiful and knew how to act coquettishly. It was no wonder that they were able to get close to the senior disciples so quickly. When Broom-like Eyebrows saw this group of people, his face immediately darkened. He did not bother to look for trouble with Yunjioga anymore. Broom-like Eyebrows Chin, you've brought your brothers here again. The leader of this group was a short man who looked like Tu Xingxuan. He had a big face, small eyes and thick lips. He was extremely ugly. Although this short man was ugly, he was already at the 4th level of the Qi refining stage. He had the highest cultivation level among the 2 groups of people. Broom-like Eyebrows Chin ignored the short man and whistled at the Lu sisters. He smiled lecherously and said, "Sisters, Shortichio is only good-looking, but he's useless. I'm afraid that he won't be able to satisfy you. Why don't you join us? I guarantee that you'll have a good time." When the Lu sisters were teased, they looked embarrassed, aggrieved, and uneasy. Shortichio's heart ached when he saw this. He immediately pointed at Broom-like Eyebrows Chin and shouted, "Looks like I didn't teach you a lesson last time. You still want to talk dirty? Do you think I won't kill you? I'm talking to the sisters. Why are you in such a hurry? You haven't gotten your hands on the sisters yet, right? Otherwise, why would you bring them here to show off?" Broom-like Eyebrows Chin chuckled. Broom-like Eyebrows Chin's words stabbed right into Shortichio's heart. He had been trying to please the sisters recently, but he had not made any progress other than touching their hands. He wanted to force himself on them, but the sisters were smarter. He had not found the opportunity to do so yet. This time the sisters had asked him to help them with the mission to kill the Yin ghosts. They had also promised to reward him after the mission was completed. Hence he had ignored the objections of his brothers and forced the sisters into the group. The Lu sisters noticed that Shorty Chio's expression was not good. They turned around and saw Yun Jioga standing in the corner. Lu Tian'er's eyes lit up. She shouted, "Isn't this Senior Yun Jio?" Senior Yun Jio, the Yin ghosts in the Yin Chi graveyard appear in groups. It's too dangerous for you to go in alone. Why don't you team up with us? Lu Mei-er immediately said with concern. That's right. Lu Tian'er pulled on Shorty Chio and said coquettishly, "Senior Chio, can you help Senior Yun Jio?" Shorty Chio was put in a difficult position. He did not dare to agree. The Yin Chi graveyard was filled with danger. His subordinates were already unhappy that he had brought 2 new girls along to take advantage of the situation. If he brought another rookie with him, he would only be a burden to the group. At that moment the Yin Chi graveyard creaked. 2 gigantic stone doors opened, and a cold and gloomy aura drifted out. Yun Jioga acted as if she had not heard the Lu sisters' invitation. She walked straight in with the token in her hand. Shorty Chio heaved a sigh of relief. He smiled and said, "This guy really doesn't know how to appreciate our kindness. Let's not bother with him. Let's go." "Yes," the Lu sisters replied sweetly. They then followed Shorty Chio and the others into the graveyard. Tisk. Broom-like eyebrows Chin snorted coldly and followed them in. Chapter 286. Yun Jioga stood in a small open space, looking at the Yin Chi cemetery in the distance. Only to see a vast expanse of gray, faintly seeing withered trees everywhere, countless Yin ghosts hiding behind the withered branches, eerily staring at the entrance of the cemetery. These Yin ghosts do not have their own consciousness, only have an instinctive desire for the vitality of living people. As long as they smell the vitality of living people, they will immediately swarm over like sharks smelling the scent of blood, devouring the person clean. Yin Corpse Sect Outer Sect disciples enter the Yin Chi cemetery in a team of at least 8 people. 2 are responsible for defense, 3 are responsible for killing Yin ghosts, and 2 are responsible for collecting the Yin Chi of Yin ghosts after they die. For someone like Yun Jioga to come in alone is no different from courting death. At this time Yun Jioga is still in the safe area. As long as she steps into the Yin Chi cemetery, countless Yin ghosts will instantly swarm over until she is drowned. Seeing that there is no one around, Yun Jioga released the profound Yin white bone monkey puppet. The scattered white bones formed the shape of a small monkey. The white bone monkey's soul fire is ignited. It opened its mouth and spat out a gray light towards Yun Jioga. Yun Jioga carefully walked into the Yin Chi cemetery, only to find that the Yin ghosts did not see her, as if they are blind. "What's going on?" Yun Jioga asked Zishang in surprise. This profound Yin white bone monkey is formed from the Yin Chi of heaven and earth. Its aura can cover up your living aura. That is why he said that this white bone monkey is a good helper for cultivating demonic techniques. So awesome! Yun Jioga's eyes lit up and immediately ordered the white bone monkey, "Go kill them all." After saying that, he took out the Yin Chi bottle, ready to enjoy the fruits of others' labor. The little skeleton monkey shook its big head and took a step forward. Then it opened its big mouth and sucked in with all its might. Those Yin ghosts screamed as they were pulled into its mouth and then disappeared. Yun Jioga holding the Yin Chi bottle was dumbfounded. This sovereign said it is very powerful. Zishang was still proud at the side. Powerful my ass. Whereas the little helper, it ate all the Yin ghosts. What do I use to exchange for contribution points? Yun Jioga said angrily. There's nothing I can do about it. This Yin energy is the food of the profound Yin white skeleton monkey. If it doesn't eat, it will be extremely hungry. If you want Yin energy, you can only work hard. Zishang shrugged and had a helpless expression. In fact, he had deliberately refined it like this. If Yun Jioga could obtain Yin Chi so easily, there would be no need to talk about cultivation. Yun Jioga could only take out the corpse control bell to control the bone spurs to kill the evil ghosts when he saw the little white skeleton monkey eating happily. In the beginning she was not very proficient, but after the time it took for an incense stick to burn, She was able to control the white bone spike very nimbly, killing with one strike. Yunjioge killed more than 10 yin ghosts and collected them all in the Yinchi bottle. Rest for a while. Zishang reminded Yunjioge when he saw that the spiritual power in his body was almost depleted. Although Yunjioge could use the aura of the mysterious Yin white skeleton monkey to avoid the eyes and ears of low-level Yin ghosts, it was not a wise move to exhaust his spiritual power. Well, there aren't many Yin ghosts here. Let's go somewhere else. Yunjioge put away the Yinchi bottle and planned to investigate the environment of the Yinchi cemetery. She could only go so smoothly with the help of the mysterious Yin white skeleton monkey. But it was not possible to do this every time. Understanding the situation here would give her one more way out. Okay. Zishang held Yunjioge's hand and strolled in the gloomy cemetery. Behind the two of them was a short mysterious Yin white skeleton monkey. It was indescribably strange. Help! At this time, a panicked cry for help and a strange ghost howl came from the depths of the fog. It's a rank 2 Yin ghost. Zishang could tell the level of the ghost howl. This is still the outer area. How can there be a rank 2 Yin ghost? Yunjioge suddenly felt strange. A rank 2 Yin ghost in the cemetery was equivalent to a level 5 Qi training. It only appeared in the inner area. The token of the outer disciples could only move around the outer area of the Yinchi cemetery. They could not enter the inner dangerous area. Probably some unlucky ghost encountered it. Zishang replied coldly. Let's go take a look. Yunjioge sneakily walked over, then secretly squatted behind a withered tree and peeked. He saw that the rank 2 Yin ghost soul body was dense. It was dark gray. Its head vaguely had a hideous shape. Its speed was extremely fast. It was impossible to guard against. Other than this rank 2 Yin ghost, there were many rank 1 Yin ghosts gathered around. They were obviously under its control. High-level Yin ghosts had control over low-level Yin ghosts. The originally scattered and disorderly Yin ghosts were now stopped and attacked. It was also very difficult to deal with. The ones being attacked by the rank 2 Yin ghost were Shorty Chio's group. Before there were 10 of them, but now there were only 3. It was unknown if they were killed by the Yin ghost, or if they were separated when escaping. Shorty Chio's group was followed by a white skeleton puppet. Unfortunately, their puppet's movements were very stiff. It was not a match for the rank 2 Yin ghost. Old Chio, we can't, this Yin ghost is too difficult to deal with. A skinny man shouted. Then let's retreat. Old Chio shouted. If we retreat like this, they will definitely split us up. We need someone to be the bait. The skinny man said. Needless to say, this bait definitely had no way out. When Yunjioge heard this, he immediately frowned. These evil cultivators were indeed different. They were willing to sacrifice their companions openly. Looking at their group, the injured disciple's white skeleton puppet was tightly protecting him. It did not look like it was willing to die. The only ones who did not have a white skeleton puppet protecting them were the Lu sisters. The sisters shook the corpse control bell, each controlling a white bone spike to attack the low-level Yin ghost. The two of them cooperated very well, killing many low-level Yin ghosts. Hearing the conversation between Shorty Chio and the others, they roughly knew that the situation was not right. They gradually pulled away from Shorty Chio's group. Little beauty, the situation is special now, I can only wrong you. Although Shorty Chio was lustful, he knew that if he protected the two little beauties at this time, his subordinates would definitely rebel against him. He could find beauties at any time, but he could not lose his position as the boss. Big brother Chio, what are you talking about? Little sister is more than happy to be able to serve everyone. Lu Mei Er did not seem to understand that Shorty Chio wanted to send the sisters to their deaths. She still smiled and replied. Little beauty is really good. If it wasn't because this rank 2 Yin ghost is too hard to deal with, Big brother would also be reluctant to leave you. Shorty Chio felt that it was a pity. Originally, he thought that after completing today's mission he could bring them back to enjoy the blessings of beauties. If he knew it would be like this, he would have raped the two sisters before coming out. That's right, little sister would also be reluctant to leave you guys. Lu Mei Er sighed. A mocking smile appeared on her beautiful face. Shorty Chio and the others have been cursed by the Lu sisters. Zishang suddenly whispered into Yunjioge's ear. Chapter 287. Where did they curse Shorty Chio? Yunjioge found it troublesome not being able to open her spirit eye. It was like being blind. See for yourself. A gray light flashed from Zishang's finger and landed on Yunjioga's forehead. The space between her eyebrows heated up and her vision turned gray. The Yin ghost was dark gray while the Lu sisters were faint yellow. That was the color of earth spirit roots. Shorty Chiu and the other two all had black water spirit roots, but strangely there was a red paper doll stuck on their backs. Lu Tian'er, who had been silent, was secretly forming seals to control the movements of the red paper dolls. The red paper doll raised its arm and Shorty Chiu and the other two rushed towards the rank 2 Yin ghost. Lu Tian'er took the chance to shout, "Go!" The two sisters immediately kept their bone spikes and ran. "Bitch, you dare to harm us." Shorty Chiu was furious. He was trying to take advantage of them on the road and the two sisters tried all kinds of ways to reject him. So they were trying to do something to him. Unfortunately, it was too late now. The rank 2 Yin ghost saw food and came to them automatically. There was no reason for it not to eat. It immediately led the Yin ghost forward and wrapped Shorty Chiu and the other two into a gray ball. Then it opened its gray mouth and wrapped Shorty Chiu's head. Shorty Chiu and the other two lost their life force quickly and they quickly turned into dried corpses that turned into dust. This was the cruelty of Yin corpse sect. There were countless of disciples dying here every day. After the rank 2 Yin ghost swallowed Shorty Chiu and the other two, it continued to chase after the Lu sisters. Yun Jioga followed without hesitation. She planned to wait for the rank 2 Yin ghost to get rid of the Lu sisters before trying to spar with the rank 2 Yin ghost to see how good she was. The Lu sisters did not say a word and ran for their lives. Originally they cursed Shorty Chiu because they wanted to hypnotize him when he was begging for sex. They did not expect to encounter the attack of the rank 2 Yin ghost. "Sister, the rank 2 Yin ghost is catching up." Lu Tian'er quickly took out her white bone spike. She did not expect Shorty Chiu and the other two to be so useless that they could not even stop a rank 2 Yin ghost. "Fight!" Lu Mei Er saw that she could not escape so she stopped and fought alongside her sister. The corpse-controlling bell let out a ringing sound. 2 white bone spikes flew out of the inventory bag. The two sisters could only control 1 white bone spike each in front of Shorty Chiu earlier. Now they could control 2 white bone spikes each. It was obvious that they had hidden their strength. 4 white bone spikes simultaneously pierced towards the level 2 Yin ghost. The level 2 Yin ghost was very cunning. It hid behind the low-level Yin ghost and did not confront the two sisters head-on. I didn't expect these two sisters to be so loyal. Yun Jioga had originally thought that the sisters would flee for their lives in the face of disaster. He never expected that they would fight side by side. At that moment, Zishang suddenly said to Yun Jioga, "There's something strange about these two sisters." "What's strange? Why couldn't she see it?" "That Lu Tian'er's physique is very special. You can't see it because she used a secret technique to conceal it. This technique is not bad." As Zishang spoke, he suddenly flicked his finger and sent a stream of demonic power towards the level 2 Yin ghost. The level 2 Yin ghost was originally hiding behind the low-level Yin ghosts, ready to attack at any time. Once it was stimulated by Zishang's demonic power, it immediately charged forward as if it had been injected with chicken blood, instantly breaking through the sisters' blockade. "I'll cover you, you leave quickly." Lu Mei Er immediately blocked in front of Lu Tian'er. The 2 white bone spikes shone brightly and turned into a meteor that pierced towards the level 2 Yin ghost. Unexpectedly, the level 2 Yin ghost did not dodge. After taking the 2 white bone spikes head-on, its gray arms suddenly expanded and hit Lu Meier's chest. Lu Meier staggered back 2 steps. A trace of blood seeped out from the corner of her mouth. Her face was instantly shrouded in a layer of gray qi. That was the symptom of cold Yin qi entering her body. "Sister." Seeing that her sister was injured, Lu Tian'er was so anxious that her eyes turned red. She gritted her teeth and took out a red paper doll from her storage bag. This red paper doll was very exquisitely cut. Its facial features were vivid and lifelike. It was simply a carving of Lu Tian'er. Lu Tian'er slapped the red paper doll onto her chest, and her eyes instantly turned red. Her hair stood up and her nails grew like sharp black blades. The level 2 Yin ghost was quite afraid of the transformed Lu Tian'er. It immediately summoned a low-level Yin ghost to block in front of it. Lu Tian'er rushed forward. With a wave of her nails, she tore the low-level Yin ghosts to pieces. Then she fought with the level 2 Yin ghost. Unexpectedly, they were evenly matched. "Nine Yu Dao body." Zishang's gray eyes flashed with surprise. This Lu Tian'er's physique was completely out of his expectations. 9 Yudao body? Isn't that the most suitable body for refining Yin corpses? Yun Jioge was also shocked. This Lu Tian'er herself has the 9 Yudao body. She actually came to the Yin corpse sect to cultivate the Yin corpse bone controlling art. Isn't this the same as turning herself into a living corpse? Does Lu Tian'er not know that I have the 9 Yudao body? But looking at the way she cursed me, it was clear that she knew about my special physique. Moreover, she was using it very well. While Yun Jioge was still in shock, Lu Tian'er gradually fell into a disadvantage against the level 2 Yin ghost. After Lu Mei'er suppressed the death energy in her body, she immediately shook the corpse controlling bell and shouted, "Don't fight it head-on. Its weakness is its head." Under her sister's command, Lu Tian'er's attacks immediately became more flexible. Every move she made was aimed at the head of the level 2 Yin ghost. With Lu Mei'er's cooperation, the two sisters actually succeeded in taking out the soul crystal in the head of the level 2 Yin ghost. Without the soul crystal, the level 2 Yin ghost immediately turned into a cloud of dense Yin qi. Lu Mei'er controlled the Yin qi bottle and the cloud of Yin qi flew into the bottle. Lu Mei'er put away the Yin qi bottle and took out 2 gray death qi talismans. This death qi talisman could temporarily isolate the body's vitality. However, the time was very short. It was not enough time to leave the Yin qi cemetery, so it was not very effective. Lu Mei'er put the Yin qi talisman on herself and Lu Tian'er. Then she pulled off the red paper man that had already lost its luster from Lu Tian'er's chest. Lu Tian'er's red eyes returned to their original state, and her hair that was standing on end also fell down. She weakly lay on the ground and pitifully shouted to Lu Mei'er, "Sister." But Lu Mei'er unexpectedly slapped her and fiercely scolded, "How many times have I told you you're not allowed to use this trick again? Do you want to die? If you want to die, then say it earlier. Why did I have to suffer that old man's torture for you?" While scolding her, Lu Mei'er also couldn't help but cry. She knew that her sister wanted to save her. She could only blame herself for not having the ability to protect her sister. "Sister, don't cry, I was wrong." Lu Tian'er's eyes were also red. She reached out her hand to wipe away Lu Mei'er's tears. "Get up." Lu Mei'er quickly stopped crying. She said with red eyes, "Go back and cultivate." She wanted to become strong enough to trample on the people that bullied her sisters. Strong enough to kill that old monster and then go back to her uncle's family for revenge. At that time she would definitely refine them into Yin corpses. She would torture them day and night. She would make them suffer 1,000 times over. Chapter 288. Yun Jioge silently watched as the two sisters supported each other as they left. He felt that their story was very tragic. This Lu Tian'er's 9 Heldao body is not bad. If it is refined into a Yin corpse, its power will double. Do you want to consider it? Zhishang said. This 1,000-year-old corpse was, after all, a fake. It was not as useful to Yun Jioge as the real thing. You've only joined the Yin corpse sect for a few days, and you really think that you're an evil cultivator? Yun Jioge rolled his eyes at Zhishang. She came here to save her life, not to refine Yin corpses. With such a good physique, don't you think it's a pity to leave it to the Yin corpse sect? Zhishang felt that it would be a waste not to take it. Of course we can't leave it to them. Yun Jioge still viewed the Yin corpse sect as an enemy. Of course he couldn't do something like this that would increase the enemy's strength. But for her to refine Lu Tian'er into a Yin corpse, just thinking about it made her feel ashamed. Since you don't want Lu Tian'er, you might as well kill her. It was normal for Zhishang to destroy what he couldn't obtain. What you are doing is no different from declaring your position. Yun Jioge knew that Zhishang was not a good demon, but he did not expect him to be so evil. If he killed someone because of his own selfishness, sooner or later he would become a devil who would not recognize his own family. You don't want it, but you don't want to give it to others. What do you want? Zhishang felt that Yun Jioge was being unreasonable. The sisters are hiding very well now. If they are really exposed, we'll talk about it when the time comes. Yun Jioge decided to take one step at a time. If the Lu sisters' identities were really exposed, it wouldn't be too late for her to make a decision at that time. Looking at the two sisters, they were not willing to be someone else's Yin corpses. Yun Jioge strolled around the Yin energy cemetery for a while, then left with the Yin energy bottle. She handed over a bottle of Yin energy in exchange for 100 contribution points, which she used to pay half a month's rent. She did not immediately exchange the remaining Yin Qi for contribution points. Instead, she took it back to her bungalow and prepared to concoct pills. The Yin Qi pills provided by the Yin Corp sect were too low level, the absorption effect was very poor. As an alchemist, she could not tolerate herself taking such inferior pills for a long time, so she intended to refine her own Yin Qi pill. Right now, she was already at the second level of Qi refining and could already operate the alchemy furnace. If he used it carefully, he could still refine a batch of Yin energy pills. Yunjioge took out the small bronze cauldron and asked Zhou Xian to help him set up an array to conceal his spiritual power. Then he hid in the house and began to refine pills. She first asked Zhou Xian to help her refine the Yin Qi into pure Yin energy. The entire bottle was filled to the brim with Yin Qi, but in the end it was only a small cup of pure Yin Qi. Then she took out the Yin spirit grass that she had collected before and began to process it. The Yin spirit grass looked like a woman's hair. It was thin and soft. After burning it into ashes and mixing it with pure Yin spirit grass, it could be placed into the alchemy furnace to be refined. The white bone fire in Yunjioge's dantian had been squeezed into a corner by the 9-stage bone shatter's poison, so he could only use his spiritual power to draw out a bit of it to make his alchemic fire. Fortunately, the time needed to refine the Yin Qi Dan was very short and her spiritual power was still enough to use. However, refining one furnace of Yin Qi Dan was also very tiring for her. This furnace produced more than 300 Yin energy pills, and the quality was also high enough for her to eat for a long time. After Yunjioge refined the Yin energy pill, he went to the mission hall to accept the mission of killing Yin ghost. Then he bought a Yin energy bottle that could absorb 500 Yin ghosts and went to the Yin energy cemetery to kill Yin ghosts. This time her killing was very smooth. After a day, the 2 Yin energy bottles were filled to the brim. When he came back at night, he took a look at the Lu sisters' house. Their door was still closed. They were probably still cultivating. "Senior brother Yunju, you're back. It seems that today's harvest is not bad." Little Fatty appeared at the door with a smile. Yunjioge looked at him indifferently. Was he going to enter the house? "Senior brother Yunjio, I have the latest news about the Yin Corp sect. Do you want to buy some information?" Little Fatty said quickly. "Buy information?" Yunjioge stopped and looked at Little Fatty from head to toe. "What information do you have to buy?" "Anything you want to hear." Little Fatty saw that he had a plan and immediately became spirited. He said eloquently, including the strategies of various missions, the various movements of the sect, the preferences of the various elders, the fastest way to enter the inner sect, the cultivation abilities of the senior brothers and sisters. Hearing this, Yunjioge's heart suddenly moved. She had always wanted to find out about Su Junqing Yi Yunji Si Yue and the demon corpse. Maybe she could really get the information she wanted from this little fatty. However, she did not ask rashly. Instead, she asked, "How do I know if your information is reliable or not?" "You don't have to worry about this. I have an uncle who is the steward of the inner sect. He has worked here for more than 50 years. There is nothing he doesn't know," Little Fatty said quickly. "Your uncle is the steward of the inner sect. Why didn't you come in with a referral token?" The steward of the inner sect was much higher than Ian Shirley, the steward of the outer sect. If Little Fatty wanted to come in, he could come in as he pleased. "I wanted to see if there were any capable people coming to the Yin Corp sect this year, so I went to participate in the preliminary selection." "You don't say. There were a few good seedlings in this preliminary selection. I heard that there was a male disciple with a natural dark spirit root. He was directly taken in as a disciple by the sect master," Little Fatty said non-stop. This Little Fatty really loved to collect gossip. Yunjioge trusted him a little more in her heart. She asked, "If that's the case, then I'll buy some information from you." Okay, but should we go somewhere else to discuss business?" Little Fatty said. People in their line of work were still very concerned about privacy. "Come in." Yunjioge opened the door and invited Little Fatty in. Little Fatty secretly looked around the room and found that there were no signs of anything being added. Usually, after the outer sect disciples were assigned a residence, they would add some things to make their living more comfortable. It seemed that this Yunjio was a cultivation maniac. Yunjioge did not care about Little Fatty's gaze. He directly asked, "I want to ask about the Lu sisters next door. Do you sell them here?" Senior brother Yunjio, you have found the right person. I have the Lu sisters' measurements, their daily schedule and their hobbies. It's only 10 contribution points. Little Fatty's expression immediately became ambiguous. He revealed an expression that said, "You know what I'm talking about." "I'm not interested in these things. I want to know their background. The more detailed the better," Yunjioga said coldly. Little Fatty was stunned. His expression suddenly became serious. He said, "The Lu sisters' background is not ordinary. It can be said to be our sect's secret. If you want to know, you need at least 500 contribution points." 500 contribution points. Yunjioga frowned. This was even more expensive than the puppet cultivation method. Could it be that Little Fatty knew that the two sisters had special constitutions, so he deliberately charged such a high price? Chapter 289. That's right. Little Fatty nodded solemnly, then chuckled. Actually, senior brother Yunjio doesn't have to do this. As long as you figure out the Lu sisters' hobbies when the time comes, you can capture them as well. Wouldn't it be easy to find out their background? Yunjioga said expressionlessly, "You better pray that it's worth 500 contribution points. Otherwise, don't blame me for falling out with you." "You really want to buy it?" Little Fatty was shocked. The Lu sisters' background was indeed a secret, which was why he offered such a high price. Previously, many people had asked him about it, but once they heard the price, they were all scared away. "Yes." Yunjioga took out the huge inchi bottle and threw it to Little Fatty. "This inchi should be enough for 500 contribution points." Originally, she wanted to use the inchi to exchange for a bone-controlling technique, but since she found out about the Lu sisters' uniqueness, she felt that there was a need to understand their background. Little Fatty took the inchi bottle and checked it. Indeed, it was worth 500 contribution points. Since there was money to be paid, even the most confidential information could be revealed. Don't be fooled by the Lu sisters' weak appearance. They actually have a great background. Little Fatty stuttered and told him about the Lu sisters' background. It turned out that the two sisters came from the Lu family in the Black Fiend sect's territory. The Lu family had 2 foundation establishment cultivators overseeing it, and its power was one of the top in the area. Although the sisters' father was only at the great perfection of chi refinement, because he was the clan leader and the sisters' cultivation talent was outstanding, they were nurtured by the clan. Unfortunately, good times didn't last long. Their father died during a mission. After their uncle became the new clan leader, the sisters' status was not as good as before. The clan elders wanted them to take good care of them. When the time came, they would marry into other clans, which would be a great help. This was the usual style of large clans. As the main family's daughter, the two sisters would not marry into poor families. However, their uncle was not a good person. He received a bribe from an evil cultivator and actually secretly sent the two sisters out to be human cauldrons. The two sisters suffered greatly at the hands of that evil cultivator, and after escaping they joined the Corpse sect. After Little Fatty finished speaking, he poured a cup of tea to moisten his throat. "That's it." Yunjioga raised his eyebrows. "What about the special physique?" "Senior brother Yunjio, the Lu sisters are fugitives. If their identities are leaked, they won't have a good ending. Isn't that confidential enough?" Little Fatty's eyes widened. No matter who it was, they could use this secret to do whatever they wanted to the Lu sisters, ensuring that they wouldn't dare to make a sound. It was only because he saw that Yunjio did not seem like a lustful person that he sold this secret to her. "Where did you get this secret?" Well, she was surprised that the Lu sisters were fugitives. "Our Corpse sect seems to accept disciples very casually, but we actually check very strictly. However, things like secrets should only be kept between you and me. It won't do either of us any good if we reveal it." Little Fatty's face was smiling, but his words carried a hint of threat. If he dared to sell such important information, he must have a backer. Yunjioga naturally wouldn't tell anyone about the Lu sisters' past. She was more curious about the Corpse sect's attitude. Since they know that the Lu sisters are fugitives, why did they still accept them? Aren't they afraid of trouble? The Lu family and that evil cultivator old monster aren't anything special. If he dares to come here to take people, then he will have to pay the corresponding price. To put it bluntly, the Corpse sect was doing business without capital and wanted to extort money from the Lu family and the evil cultivator old monster. Then do you know how the Lu sisters escaped from the evil hands of that old monster? Jioge was still quite curious about this. I heard that when the old monster was plucking them, they took the opportunity to cut his lower part and escaped. Little Fatty's face revealed a sour expression. Even a golden core ancestor couldn't take a cut on his lower part. These two sisters were indeed fierce. Although Jioge didn't have any asterisk, she could imagine that the pain must be unbearable. Seeing that senior brother Jio is so generous, I'll give you another piece of information. Little Fatty lowered his voice and said mysteriously, I heard that senior brother Su Junqing is very interested in this pair of sisters. If you like them, you have to keep an eye on them or else you'll get nothing. Su Junqing? Jioge narrowed her eyes. This name was really detestable. But since Little Fatty mentioned it, she also took the opportunity to ask, do you know the origin of this senior brother Su Junqing? Of course, 50 contribution points. Little Fatty stretched out a palm. Although this price was cheaper than the Lu sisters, Jioge didn't even have a single contribution point on hand, nor did she have any Inchi bottles to exchange. She thought about it and asked Little Fatty, do you want to exchange Inchi pills? In the Yin Corpse sect, one Inchi pill could be exchanged for 1 contribution point. You still have Inchi pills? Little Fatty was quite surprised. Usually, new disciples would take Inchi pills to break through to the first level of Qi refinement. I know an alchemist and I got some good Inchi pills from him. Jioge took out a small jade bottle. Let me have a look. Little Fatty took Jioge's Inchi pill and smelled it. His eyes immediately lit up. This Inchi pill is not bad. One is worth 10 contribution points. Trade. Little Fatty's price was quite reasonable. Jioge gave him 5 Inchi pills. Fatty rambled on and on about Su Junqing's background. A disciple of the bloodthirsty sect. He sold little girls in the Thunder Country's Shangjing. He even colluded with the Thunder Country's former crown prince, Dongfang Jianming. He wanted to kill the Medicine Refining Valley's Grandmaster Dongfang. In the end, the Spiritualist Alliance surrounded the Blood Cloud Peak. Jioge knew these things better than Little Fatty. What she wanted to know was what happened after he entered the Yin Corpse sect. Little Fatty rambled on and on, quickly talking about Su Junqing entering the Yin Corpse sect. After Su Junqing entered the Yin Corpse sect with Si Yue, he didn't wait for Si Yue to return. He used his beauty to hook up with Elder Mo Hua and successfully entered the Ink Flower Peak as an inner disciple. Following that, he successfully refined his own Yin Corpses. His strength greatly increased and his status in the Ink Flower Peak also rose along with it. Wait a minute, you said he refined his own Yin Corpse? Jioge frowned and asked, didn't they say that finding a suitable Yin Chi corpse is very difficult? He only joined the Yin Corpse sect for a few days, how did he find one? That's right, his luck was good. He brought back a female slave from the Blood Cloud Peak. He never thought she would have a Yin spirit physique. She was very compatible with him, so he directly refined her. When Little Fatty said this, he couldn't help secretly sighing at Su Junqing's good luck. He went under the tutelage of Elder Mo Hua. If he went under the tutelage of another male elder, this Yin spirit physique woman would not have been his turn. He already knew that a Yin spirit physique woman would be compatible with anyone. When Jioge heard the words Blood Cloud Peak female slave, her heart skipped a beat. She quickly asked, have you seen his Yin corpse? My uncle has seen it. He said it was very beautiful. There was even a red mole between her eyebrows. Little Fatty's words made Jioge's heart sink. Chapter 290. Yunji, it had to be Yunji. Jioge's heart trembled, she never thought she would receive this kind of news. Zishang forcefully squeezed Jioge's hand and she came back to her senses. Senior brother Yun, what's wrong? Little Fatty's eyes kept looking at Jioge's face. It was a good thing that Jioge's poisoned face could not show any expression. Otherwise Little Fatty would have seen it. I just feel that this senior brother Su really has a good life. Jioge suppressed her anger and continued to ask, you just said that senior brother Su Junqing likes the Lu sisters. Does he have bad intentions towards them? I don't know about this, but it can't be anything good. It could be seen that Little Fatty was also very disdainful of this Su Junqing. Then if you have any news about Su Junqing doing anything to the Lu sisters, we can discuss the price. Jioge logically said. No problem. Little Fatty was very satisfied with another regular customer. Yunjoga actually wanted to ask about Siyue, but she was afraid that asking too much would make Little Fatty suspicious, so she gave up. If senior brother doesn't have anything else, then I'll leave first. Little Fatty was also very busy. After Yunjoga sent Little Fatty away, she closed the door and asked Zishang, "Do you think what he said was true? Did Su Junqing really refine Yi Yunji into a Yin corpse? What he said just now was the truth." Zishang was hidden on the side. He had already used his demon eye to confirm that Little Fatty's news was true. That bastard Su Junqing. It was not enough to harm Yi Yunji like that, he even refined her into a Yin corpse. Not killing him was simply intolerable. Right now Su Junqing is in the limelight of the Yin corpse sect. It is too risky for you to find him for revenge. Zishang calmly said. He brought Yunjoga to the Yin corpse sect to cultivate and expel the poison. Everything else had to be put aside. I know. Yunjoga forcefully closed her eyes, and when she opened them she had already calmed down. Cultivation was the most important thing. The most important thing for her right now was to go to the Yinqi cemetery to collect Yinqi and refine the Yinqi pill. The further she went, the worse the Yinqi pill would be. At that time she would have to refine the Yinqi pill. This Yin gathering pill required the 3 nether flower and Yin moths. The flowers and plants of 3 nether grew in the inner area of the Yin energy cemetery. It was not a problem for her to sneak in and pick them with the help of the skeleton monkey. However, the Yin moths resided in the moth valley of the Yin energy cemetery. One person could not catch many of them, so he had to cooperate with others. It seemed that he needed to change his cold and eccentric persona and find some reliable people to cooperate with. Fortunately, Yunjoga was only at the 3rd level of Qi refinement. There was still some time before he could advance to the 5th level, so he could take his time to search. The next day Yunjoga went out to kill Yin ghosts again. When he returned to hand in his mission, he happened to see Lu Mei Er being entangled by Broomchen and his gang. Little Beauty, Shorty Chio and his gang are all dead. You should hurry up and find someone to rely on. Otherwise, how are you going to maintain your pretty face? Broomchen said with a smile. The disciples behind him had become much stronger. Shorty Chio's subordinates had already switched sides and joined his camp. Among the outer sect disciples, whoever had the bigger fist had the right to speak. If it was a normal day, Lu Mei wouldn't mind entering Broomchen's camp to flatter him. But she was not in the mood right now. Ever since her little sister used the 9 nether ghost body, her situation had not been good. The cold Yin energy in her body had gathered in her body and could not be released. She did not dare ask someone to see her, so she could only stay by her side day and night. Her entire person was extremely irritable. Now seeing Broomchen's disgusting face, she was even more annoyed. She directly scolded him, "Scram, don't cause trouble in front of this ant. Smelly whore, don't be so shameless. Brothers, go and teach her how to be a person." Broomchen flew into a rage out of humiliation. He called out to his subordinates to teach Lu Mei Er a lesson. The surrounding disciples silently walked away. No one wanted to get involved in this muddy water. Although the Yin Corpse sect did not allow fighting on the surface, if the law enforcement team did not see it, no one would care. Lu Mei Er touched her storage bag, wanting to take out the corpse-controlling Bell and Broomchen. At this time a gentle voice rang out, "What are you doing? Don't you know fighting is forbidden in the sect?" Following that, Su Juanqing's handsome face appeared in front of everyone. "Senior Su misunderstood. We were just chatting. Isn't that right, junior sister Lu?" Broomchen warned Lu Mei Er. "This ant has nothing to talk about with you." Lu Mei Er did not put him in her eyes at all. Broomchen's face immediately became ugly. "Didn't you hear junior sister Lu's words? Why aren't you scramming?" Su Junqing was clearly standing on Lu Mei Er's side. Yes. Broomchen was powerful among the outer disciples. But in front of Su Junqing, an inner disciple, he was nothing. He immediately tucked his tail between his legs. He brought his subordinates and left. "Junior sister Lu, are you all right?" Su Junqing gently looked at Lu Mei Er. "Many thanks to Senior Su for helping me out." Lu Mei Er gratefully smiled. "It's just a small matter. It's not worth mentioning. I heard your sister was injured. Is it serious? Do you want me to take a look?" Su Junqing enthusiastically asked. Lu Mei Er's face paled when she heard this. She shook her head and refused. "Many thanks for Senior Su's concern. My sister's injury is no longer a problem. I still have a task to hand in, so I won't disturb Senior Su. After saying that, she hurriedly walked into the task hall. Su Junqing looked at Lu Mei Er's slim figure. His eyes darkened, but he did not chase after her. Instead, he turned around and left. Chase after her. Zishang whispered into Yun Jioga's ear. He knew that Yun Jioga really wanted to kill Su Junqing. Although she could not do it now, she could still find out some information. Zishang's words were exactly what Yun Jioga wanted. She immediately concealed herself and followed behind Su Junqing. She did not expect Su Junqing to actually go find Broom Chen. Looks like you've been doing well recently. Su Junqing's attitude was very casual. From his tone, it was clear that he was acquainted with Broom Chen. Broom Chen's face was filled with a flattering smile. He said in an obsequious manner, "Many thanks to Senior Su for helping me get rid of Shorty Chiu. Now the second peak is our territory. Don't worry, I will definitely help you get the Lu sisters. Do well, I won't mistreat you." Su Junqing nodded in satisfaction. His foundation in the corpse sect was too weak. He had always wanted to rope in his own forces. It just so happened that this Broom Chen was relying on him. He used a little trick to lure out a level 2 ghost from the inner circle to help him get rid of his opponent Shorty Chiu. However, Broom Chen was still a bit useless. He kept saying that he would help him get the Lu sisters, but there was no progress until now. Although Su Junqing cultivated the bewitching art, it was not good to use it on the Lu sisters. Otherwise, those senior brothers and sisters who did not like him would definitely fiercely sue him. Although the corpse sect's rules were very loose, publicly murdering a fellow sect disciple would still be heavily punished. Of course, if you secretly murdered someone, it was another matter as long as no one found out. Chapter 291. Yun Jioga looked at this scene from afar. She really wanted to punch Su Junqing. This scumbag was really despicable and shameless. He would harm women wherever he went. Originally, Yun Jioga treated the Lu sisters as enemies. But now she felt that they could be partners and fight against Su Junqing together. "My king, what do you think I should do to win over those two sisters?" Yun Jioga humbly asked Zishang for advice. She wasn't good at picking up girls. First, tell them that you already know their identity as female slaves and their 9 hell ghost body. Second, give them some benefits. Let them know that they will have meat to eat if they follow you. Finally, use them to fight against Su Junqing. Zishang explained. Isn't that too direct? Yun Jioga originally wanted to start off as friends with the Lu sisters. With their experience, it's better to be direct. Zishang had a look of "listen to me." Makes sense. Yun Jioga nodded. She didn't have the time or the mood to talk about feelings with the Lu sisters. When the time comes, you can show them your true self. They will know that you have no ill intentions towards them. Zishang was very confident in his acting as a 1,000-year-old corpse. Even 10 hell Taoist bodies couldn't compare. We'll talk about it when the time comes. Yun Jioga's attitude was very perfunctory. She felt that she was fine now. She didn't want to let Zishang out and cause trouble at all. It'll be too late. Zishang was very unhappy with Yun Jioga's attitude. Yun Jioga ignored him. She went back to the bungalow and knocked on the Lu sisters' door. "Who is it?" Lu Meier's voice sounded. "I, Yun Jioga, have something to discuss with you," Yun Jioga said calmly. "I don't have time right now. We'll talk tomorrow." Lu Meier's tone sounded very perfunctory. "Oh, I want to say it now. If you don't come out, don't blame me for barging in." Yun Jioga's attitude was very firm. The door opened very quickly. Lu Meier's beautiful face appeared from the gap. She said impatiently, "If you have something to say it quickly. I already know your background and your sister's body." Before Yun Jioga could finish, he was pulled into the room by Lu Meier. A white bone spear hung in the air and aimed straight at Yun Jioga's face. "You can't kill me." Yun Jioga's attitude was firm. Zishang was standing behind Lu Meier. Lu Meier's eyes were bloodshot and her aura was exploding, as if she wanted to swallow Yun Jioga whole. "Sister, let him come in to talk." Lu Tianer's voice was heard along with the sound of banging. "Little sister." Lu Meier couldn't be bothered to confront Yun Jioga. She hurriedly entered the inner room. Yun Jioga followed her into the room and saw Lu Tianer lying on the floor, struggling to get up with the help of the bed. "You're already like this, why are you still struggling?" Lu Meier quickly went over to help Lu Tianer up. Lu Tianer's face was particularly ugly. Her face was ashen and her eyes were red. Her vitality was also very weak. This was the side effect of using the Netherworld Dao body. If he used it a few more times, her vitality would be completely cut off and she would become a living corpse. Put her on the bed. I have a way to suck out the cold energy from her body. After saying that, Yun Jioge brought out the Thunderfire needle. I don't need your fake kindness. Lu Mei glared at Yun Jioge fiercely. It was obvious that she didn't believe her words. She's already like this. If we don't treat her, I'm afraid that the entire Yin Corpse sect will know about her body constitution. Yun Jioge wasn't afraid that Lu Mei wouldn't give in. Sister, let's just treat a dead horse like a living horse. Lu Tianer said weakly. Only then did Lu Mei carry Lu Tianer back to the bed. Then she guarded by the side and stared at Yun Jioge like she was looking at a pervert. Yun Jioge didn't mind. He first checked Lu Tianer's pulse and found that it was so weak that he couldn't feel it. Her situation was very dangerous. Although she couldn't open her spiritual eye, she could still use other methods to check the situation in Lu Tianer's body. Later, I will send a stream of Yin energy into your body to check. Don't resist. Yun Jioge said solemnly. N. Lu Tianer nodded. Yun Jioge then released a stream of Yin energy into her pulse. She carefully checked the situation of her meridians and memorized the blocked areas. After she finished checking, she took out the Thunderfire needle and started to use her acupuncture technique. Streaks of red light landed on Lu Tianer's blocked meridians, leaving countless densely packed needle holes. Then countless grayish-black water droplets seeped out of the needle holes. Lu Tianer's complexion started to improve. Her grayish-white lips also had some color. After Yun Jioge kept the needle, he said, "Try to circulate a big cycle." Lu Tianer immediately sat cross-legged and circulated her technique. The grayish-black water droplets turned into mist and surged out, covering her body. Lu Mei was extremely nervous and quickly asked Yun Jioge, "What's going on?" "Good situation," Yun Jioge said indifferently. Lu Tianer quickly finished circulating her technique. Her complexion instantly returned to normal. She looked like nothing had happened. "Brother Yunju, you're so amazing." Lu Tianer's eyes lit up as she looked at Yun Jioge and asked, "Such amazing acupuncture technique. Where did you learn it from?" Yun Jioge didn't answer Lu Tianer's question. Instead he said, "I came to find you guys to discuss a deal." "What deal?" Lu Mei asked with a calm face. "Of course it's a deal that's beneficial to you. Don't worry. I'm not interested in refining you into Yin corpses. However, your cultivation is too low right now. Let's talk about it when your cultivation is higher." Although Yun Jioge wanted to rope in the Lu sisters, he couldn't immediately tell them his goal. Otherwise he would have nowhere to cry if they sold him out. Lu Mei scrutinized Yun Jioge. Unfortunately, his demonic face didn't have any expression, so she couldn't see anything. "Brother Yun Jioge, you saved me. You're my benefactor. I'll do anything you want me to do," Lu Tianer said naively. "Don't be silly. Be careful that you don't know you'll be sold," Lu Mei scolded. "Brother Yun Jioge isn't that kind of person." Lu Tianer pouted and said with a bit of grievance. The sisters echoed each other and acted very well. Unfortunately, Yun Jioge didn't fall for it. "Tomorrow wait for me at the Yin Chi Cemetery's entrance." Yun Jioge threw down these words and left. Lu Tianer pretended to be in a daze as she watched Yun Jioge leave. When he disappeared and the door closed, the expression in her eyes changed. She asked Lu Mei seriously, "Sister, what do you think?" "I can't see through this Yun Jioge. However, since he knows your secret, we can't let him live," Lu Mei said ruthlessly. She didn't believe that Yun Jioge wasn't interested in her sister's special constitution. Chapter 292. Then we have to prepare tomorrow. Lu Tianer's current appearance did not have the slightest bit of cuteness. Her ruthlessness was not inferior to her sister. Zhang heard the conversation between the two sisters and immediately said to Yun Jioge with schadenfreude, "Those two sisters are preparing to get rid of you in the Yin Chi cemetery tomorrow." "What are you laughing at? Aren't you afraid that your mouth will go crooked?" Yun Jioge was extremely depressed. Did she really have to introduce Zhang, this beast? "Wash your neck and wait, this sovereign will not help you." Zhang smiled and patted Yun Jioge's shoulder. Little guy, you deserve it for being perfunctory with this sovereign. Yunjioga was also worried that she would fail miserably tomorrow, so after carefully checking the storage bag, she let out the Xianxia white bone monkey to practice. In this period of time she realized that this Xianxia white bone monkey was quite intelligent. Although it could not speak, the soul fire in its eyes was very lively and could represent all kinds of emotions. For example, it liked to go to the Xianxia cemetery the most. Every time it went there to kill ghosts, its soul fire would jump very fiercely. But once it disintegrated into white bones and put into a belt, it would look like it had nothing to live for. Little monkey, if you perform well tomorrow, big sister will refine something good for you to eat. Yunjioga stated her condition. She realized that if this Xianxia white bone monkey could automatically cooperate, then its attack power would be much stronger. The Xianxia white bone monkey stood there blankly. Its soul fire did not have any reaction, as if it did not understand what Yunjioga meant. You have not tasted the Xianxia water yet, right? Come. Yunjioga took out a Xianxia bottle, condensed the Xianxia inside into water and dissolved the Xianxia dan in it. Then she dipped a brush in the water and rubbed it on the Xianxia white bone monkey's head. The Xianxia white bone monkey's soul fire immediately soared. Its two small arms could not help but move upwards. It was very obvious that it liked the Xianxia water. You like it, right? Work hard tomorrow, big sister will make sure you are full. Yunjioga squinted her eyes and laughed treacherously. If it was full now, how would it work tomorrow? How could the little white bone monkey be Yunjioga's opponent? Its nimble fire expanded and contracted as if it was nodding. Beast, you won't even let the white bone monkey go. Zishang finally found a chance to ridicule Yunjioga. It was rare that Yunjioga did not retort. As long as it was useful, then so be it. The next morning Yunjioga arrived at the entrance of the Yin Energy Cemetery. The Lu sisters were already waiting there. As usual, Lu Mei put on a dark face and nodded coldly at her. Lu Tian'er continued to act innocent as she greeted Yunjioga innocently. Good morning, brother Yunjio. Come with me to kill the evil ghost and we will divide the Xianxia equally. Yunjioga had the same attitude towards the two sisters, expressionless. Don't worry, brother Yunjio can give me as much as you want. Lu Tian'er's eyes curved into a smile. The girl next door's charming appearance was indeed very easy to gain the favor of men. Unfortunately, Yunjioga was a transvestite disguised as a man. He ignored Lu Tian'er's cute act and walked into the Xianxia cemetery first. The Lu sisters glanced at each other and followed him in. The Yin Energy Cemetery was still bone-piercingly cold. Low-level evil ghosts were floating everywhere, and when they saw Yunjioga and the other two enter, they immediately surged forward. Lu Tian'er and Lu Mei took out two white bone spears and made a defensive posture. However, the white bone spears were very close to Yunjioga, and they could basically stab Yunjioga in the chest with a backhand. Yunjioga did not care. He took out a small bag and threw it down, shouting, "Come out, little monkey." Thin white bones flew out of the small bag and formed the shape of a little monkey with a big head. Brother Yunjio is too amazing. You have your own white bone puppet so quickly. But this little monkey is too cute. Lu Tian'er implied that cuteness could not be eaten. You don't need to defend, just focus on killing the evil ghosts. Yunjioga pinched his fingers and drew the Yin Qi from the little white bone to the three of them. The Yin ghosts immediately stopped their attacks. However, the Yin Qi distributed among the three of them was not enough. The Yin Qi still floated out faintly, causing the evil ghosts to circle around them. The Lu sisters did not expect such a situation. They originally wanted to take advantage of the chaos to kill Yunjioga the moment the evil ghosts rushed up, but now it seemed that it was not feasible. Brother Yunjio, this little monkey is so powerful, how did you refine it? Lu Tian'er could not help but ask. If she and her sister could also have such a white bone monkey, they would not have to sell their bodies everywhere to find cultivation resources. This is a mystic Yin white bone monkey that I found by chance. Yunjioga's tone was very calm, as if he was very proud, but he did not say anything. Mystic Yin white bone monkey. Lu Tian'er's eyes widened. This thing was an evil treasure. She did not expect Yunjioga to be able to get such a good thing. Lu Mei's fiery gaze turned to the white bone monkey, and a white bone spear in the Qingquan bag quietly emerged. Sister, I don't have enough Yin Qi bottles, give it to me. Lu Tian'er suddenly said to Lu Mei, but her eyes were filled with disapproval. Now was not the time to make a move. Okay. Lumiere immediately sobered up, and the white bone spear quietly returned to the storage bag. The two sisters quickly changed their strategy and concentrated on fighting the Yin ghosts. After all, the Yin Qi was good stuff. Yunjioga also commanded the white bone spear to kill the Yin ghosts. Unexpectedly, after the white bone monkey finished absorbing the Yin ghosts, it opened its mouth and spat out a pure Yin Qi at Yunjioga's Yin Qi bottle. The Lu sisters were dumbfounded. Being able to kill and take this white bone monkey was simply a treasure. Yunjioga was also very surprised. One must know that the white bone monkey was only concerned about eating and never paid attention to her. Seemed like the Yin Qi feast last night made it wake up. After all, the refined Yin Qi was much more delicious than these low-level Yin ghosts. Yunjioga put away the white bone spear and concentrated on collecting the Yin Qi. Then he filled a big bottle. Let's rest for a while. Yunjioga saw the Lu sisters were panting, so he decided to let them rest first. Okay. Lu Tian'er was also tired to the point that her face was a little pale. She had just recovered from a serious illness, and after fighting with the Yin ghosts for so long, she couldn't hold on anymore. She staggered a little and fell toward Yunjioga. However, Yunjioga dodged Lu Tian'er, then grabbed her right hand and raised it high. Lu Tian'er's right hand was holding a red paper doll. On it, there was a human figure drawn with ink which was very similar to Yunjioga. Seeing that her sister's curse failed, Lumiere immediately drove the two white bone spears to stab Yunjioga's chest. Lu Tian'er was also a ruthless person. She took out the red paper doll that she had prepared and patted it on her body. Immediately, she activated the 9 Yudao body with red eyes and black hair. It was obvious that she was going to fight with Yunjioga today. Chapter 293. Say, I miscalculated. Yunjioga secretly sighed at his bad luck. He had revealed the white bone monkey to let them see his aura, but he never thought that it would cause them to covet him. It really was not good to show off one's wealth. Yunjioga cursed in his heart, but his hands moved very quickly. Ringing the corpse control bell, the white bone spike flew out to block Lumiere's attack. Then he sent the white bone monkey to deal with Lu Tian. The white bone monkey shook its big head, making kacha-kacha sounds as it walked towards Lu Tian. After taking 2 steps, it was sent flying by Lu Tian'er's kick. The little skeleton fell to the ground and the big head rolled into the sand, burying itself in the ground. Little monkey. Yunjioga's heart tightened, wanting to call it back. At this time 2 Yin ghosts floated by. The little monkey immediately raised its head. Its soul flame happily swam, opening its big mouth to eat the Yin ghosts. Not to mention helping Yunjioga, it didn't even care about its broken little skeleton, burying its big head in the sand as it began to eat. Yunjioga finally saw it clearly. This white bone monkey was a glutton. Wanting to rely on it to fight was too hard. If you want the senior's help, then ask me. Xianxia stood behind Yunjioga, his gray eyes filled with ridicule. Yunjioga wanted to refuse, but seeing Lu Tian's long black nails in front of her, she could only helplessly give in. Great King, I beg you. Only then did Xianxia reveal himself. He lazily raised his hand and shot out a gray Yin Qi that sent Lu Tian'er flying. Lu Tian's body flew back, slamming into Lumiere, the 2 sisters rolling into a ball. Who are you? Lumiere looked at the beautiful gray-eyed man next to Yunjioga in shock. He felt like she was dreaming. Otherwise, how could there be such a perfect man, appearing in such a strange way? Lu Tian'er shivered as she shrank beside Lumiere. She was now in a half-ghost body. Her intuition was very sharp. She felt from the bottom of her heart that this beautiful man in front of her was very dangerous. She couldn't provoke him. This is my Yin corpse with a blood contract. Yunjioga introduced without any expression. Yin corpse. Lu Tian'er's eyes opened wide in disbelief. She found that this gray-haired beautiful man did not have a single trace of life on him. His pair of cold gray eyes made her feel like she was falling into an ice cave. That's right, he is a 1,000-year-old corpse, so I have no interest in you. Yunjioga waved his hand and the red paper person flew into his hand. This red paper person was filled with a thick smell of blood. The red paint was all made from blood. Was the person drawn by the brush exuded a gloomy and evil aura, making her dizzy just by looking at it. No wonder Shorty Chio and the others fell for it. The Lu sisters were indeed skilled. Senior brother Yunjio, I have absolutely no intention of harming you. We made this red paper man for fun. Lume lied through her teeth. Do you think I'm an idiot? Yunjioga's eyes were unkind. These two sisters really needed a lesson. Brother Yunjioga, if you want to blame someone, then blame me. I thought you had bad intentions towards my little sister, so I encouraged her to help me deal with you. Lume Air immediately kneeled down and begged for mercy. Brother Yunjioga, it's all my fault. I forced my big sister to help me deal with you. Lu Tian'er took off the red paper and returned to her original appearance, kneeling on the ground and crying. Shut up, I'll let you go this time, but if there's a next time, don't blame me for selling you to the Een Corp sex elders. I believe they will be very interested in you. Yunjioga burned the red paper person on the spot. Thank you, brother. The Lu sisters said with gratitude. Get up, do a good job in the future and I won't mistreat you. Yunjioga gave them a big stick and began to give out dates. Thank you, brother. Us two sisters will be loyal to you in the future. The Lu sisters said as they helped each other up from the ground. Then they obediently walked to Yunjioga's side. Let's stop here for today. Yunjioga saw that most of the Een Chi had been collected and the Lu sisters had been subdued, so he planned to return home. Yes. The Lu sisters nodded obediently and then secretly glanced at Zishang. They were wondering why they didn't have the luck to meet such a 1,000-year-old corpse. Zishang didn't respond to their gazes. Let's go. Yunjioga turned around and called out to Zishang, but a strange light flashed in Zishang's eyes. Then he carried Yunjioga horizontally and quickly disappeared in front of the Lu sisters. The Lu sisters looked at each other, not knowing what was going on. However, they didn't dare to leave on their own. They surrounded the white skeleton monkey and killed the Een ghosts while waiting for Yunjioga to return. What are you doing? Yunjioga was shocked. Why didn't Zishang follow the script? Why did he suddenly go crazy? I suddenly realized that the effects of dual cultivation in this Een energy graveyard are much better. Zishang quickly brought Yunjioga to a withered tree that was so wide that 5 people could wrap their arms around it. There was a big hole in the withered tree and it was quite spacious inside. The two of them could stand and turn around without being affected. This place is not bad, right? Zishang found this tree hole last time. At that time he felt that dual cultivation with Yunjioga would be very enjoyable. No matter how good it is, it can't be so sudden. Yunjioga finally understood how the words, lust clouded the heart, were written. Dual cultivation is a big deal. Of course, we should take advantage of the right time and place. Zishang said seriously. Bullsh *T, this place is so dirty and there are insects everywhere. I don't want to dual cultivate here. Yunjioga felt itchy just looking at the tree hole. Itchy, is it? I'll help you scratch it. Zishang smiled and reached out to pull Yunjioga's belt. Damn you. Yunjioga was no match for Zishang and was quickly raped. The two of them started dual cultivating in the tree hole more smoothly than in the bungalow. Their spiritual power grew quickly, and their Dantian's meridians became stronger. It was clear that Zishang's words were not entirely teasing. However, Yunjioga was still angry in his heart, so he purposely let out moans and groans as his palms caressed Zishang's muscular body. Do you have to do this? Zishang was very uncomfortable. Not bad. Use more strength. Yunjioga was not afraid of him and instead moaned even more. Do you believe that I won't do you? Zishang threatened fiercely. He couldn't vent his anger while dual cultivating with Yunjioga. He had been holding it in for a long time. Yunjioga was doing this to him and he was in great pain. If you have something to do, do it to me. Yunjioga wrapped her legs around Zishang's thin waist, looking fearless. Zishang said before that her Dantian was too weak, and could not withstand his essence energy. So before the poison was cured he could only be an old ox that worked hard to plow the fields. Stupid girl, I'll kill you sooner or later. Yunjioga moaned even louder. She had been teased too much before and now she could finally get her revenge. If you asked her how she felt, there was only one word to describe it: pleasure. Chapter 294. Because Zishang was too depressed, the dual cultivation ended very quickly. After Yunjioga finished his cultivation, he put on his clothes and returned to his original place with Zishang. The Lu sisters had already killed quite a few Een ghosts. Seeing Yunjioga come back with messy clothes and a few strange red marks on his neck, their expressions became strange. The Lu sisters grew up in this area, so they were very familiar with Yin corpses and demonic sects. Naturally, they knew when Yin corpses would take the initiative to form a blood contract with a living person. There were some that had deep feelings when they were alive and could not forget their family and friends after death. There were some that felt that a living person was especially delicious, becoming addicted to eating and not willing to let go. This kind of eating, other than sucking blood, there was another method, which was to have sex. To put it nicely, it was like water and milk, but to put it bluntly, it was being fucked. Very clearly, Xianxia in front of them was in this kind of situation. No wonder his expression was so strange. It was estimated that he had been fucked by that 1,000-year-old corpse for a long time, causing the corpse poison in his body to manifest. The Lu sisters thought that this corpse love was just a legend. They never thought that there would be a living example in front of them. Moreover, it was a man with a cut sleeve. The two of them couldn't help looking at Xianxia a few more times. Xianxia had an expressionless face, letting the Lu sisters look at him, but his heart was very sullen. It was all because of Zishang's broken idea. Now he must be very abnormal in the eyes of the Lu sisters. "Senior brother, it's getting late, let's hurry up and leave," Lu Mei took the initiative to say with a very kind attitude. The two sisters had a rough life, suffering under the hands of that evil old monster. What they needed the most was not sympathy from others, but sympathy from fellow sufferers. Xianxia, this pitiful man being pressed down by that 1,000-year-old corpse, met this condition without a doubt. "Let's go." Xianxia brought the Lu sisters out of the Yinqi cemetery. Returning to the small house, Xianxia gave them 2 bottles of Yin energy pills. "Cultivate well." Saying this, he returned to the house. "Good night, senior brother." The Lu sisters waited for Xianxia to enter before returning to their own house. "Elder sister, do you really think Xianxia won't refine me into a Yin corpse?" Lu Mei asked in a worried voice. "I don't think so. It's rumored that Yin corpses that have a blood contract with a living person are very possessive. There are even precedents of them killing the contractor's entire family. It definitely won't allow the contractor to refine another Yin corpse." Lu Mei cautiously said. "But he can sell me to someone else." After Lu Tiana was betrayed by her uncle, she didn't trust anyone except her sister. He has that 1,000-year-old corpse by his side. He can get whatever he wants. There's no need for him to sell it to us. As Lu Mei said this, she laughed. "Besides, he's worth more than us now. If anyone wants to sell him, it should be us." Although his younger sister's 9 nether ghost body was rare, her vital Yin had already been taken away by that damned old monster, so its effectiveness was greatly reduced. It was not even as valuable as the mysterious Yin white bone monkey. Although the 1,000-year-old corpse had formed a blood contract with Xianxia, the Yin corpse sect must have a way to remove it, so the one who should be worried should be Xianxia. Big sister's words make sense. Lu Tiana realized that her net worth had plummeted and felt inexplicably relieved. "I think that Xianxia is a person with good fortune. If we follow him, we might be able to get some good luck." Lu Mei originally thought that this Xianxia was just a demonic-looking youth. She didn't think that he not only had a treasure like the mysterious Yin white bone monkey, but also a 1,000-year-old corpse as a Yin corpse. This kind of great fortune was simply something that only the favored of the heavens could have. If they could get some good luck by following him, the two sisters would be able to avoid a lot of detours in the future. Big sister is right. The two sisters had a hard life, that's why they ended up in this situation. Let's follow him first and work hard to raise our cultivation. Lu Mei finally came to a conclusion. Lu Tianer nodded her head in agreement. She then took out the Yinqi pill that Xianxia gave her and ate it. Her eyes immediately widened. What's wrong? Is there a problem with this Yinqi pill? Lu Mei asked. Heavens, I've never eaten such a pure Yinqi pill before. Lu Tianer said as she sat down cross-legged to cultivate. Lu Mei stood guard at the side. After she finished cultivating, she also couldn't wait to eat one. She immediately understood her little sister's meaning. Big sister, let's follow him for now. We'll see what happens in the future. Lu Tianer felt that this Yinqi pill was too good. Right. Lu Mei nodded her head. The Lu sisters had real benefits in front of them. Even if they were to fall out in the future, they would have to take this opportunity to increase their strength first. The two sisters used the Qi gathering pill and it was much better than the one given by the sect. Their cultivation increased very quickly as well. Yun Jioga didn't know that her Yin Qi pill had successfully bribed the Lu sisters. After she entered the room, she immediately refined a large bucket of Yin Qi water and threw the little white bone monkey inside. The little white bone monkey happily soaked in the water. Its soul flame was squinting as if it could ascend to the heavens at any time. Good child, work hard in the future. You won't be lacking in benefits. Yun Jiogu rubbed its big head and then went to the side to cultivate. She had touched the threshold of the third Qi disciple stage, but she was unable to advance. The cultivation of the myriad beast spell had also reached a bottleneck. No matter how she cultivated, she couldn't condense the feathers on her back. Instead, she felt sore all over. In your current situation, you need to start tempering your bones. Zishang could see Yun Jioji's problem at a glance. After Yun Jiogu cultivated the Yin Qi technique, although the 9-stage bone-shattering poison in her dantian had been alleviated, the poison that seeped into her bones still needed to be boiled out. I'm going to boil the bones so soon. Do I have enough medicinal ingredients? Although Yun Jiogu had asked the Gong family to help her collect a lot of bone-tempering medicinal ingredients, she was afraid that it wouldn't be enough for her to reach the peak of Qi disciple. We'll talk about it if it's not enough. Pick up the medicinal ingredients first. I'll help you get a wooden bucket. Zishang left the room after he finished speaking. After Yun Jiogu had picked up the bone-tempering medicinal ingredients, Zishang returned and carried out a thick, long and round piece of black wood from his storage bag. The glossy black wood was covered with golden round spots. It was as gorgeous as a leopard's pattern. Damn, why did you bring the treasure of the Ink Flower Mountain here? Yun Jiogu immediately recognized that it was Elder Mo Hua's treasure, the black bone leopard pattern wood. It was said that she had planted 38 trees behind her cave abode and planned to use them to refine a treasure in the future. Therefore, she usually kept a close eye on it. This kind of wood is the best to make a wooden bucket. Zishang had high standards. He didn't even look at normal wood. You keep saying that you want to keep a low profile. Is this how you keep a low profile? If this Elder Mo Hua found out that her precious wood was stolen, she would turn the Yin Corpse sect upside down. Even if she was only an outer sect disciple, her life wouldn't be easy. Chapter 295. Do you think I'm as stupid as you? Zishang dared to steal the wood, so he was naturally prepared. He found a normal black bone wood, painted it with leopard spots and planted it back in its original spot. There were more than 30 black bone leopard wood in the forest. As long as Elder Mo Hua didn't dig it out, he definitely wouldn't find it. You can do that. Yun Jioga was impressed by Zishang. But no matter what, she was the one who brought the black bone leopard wood back to enjoy. She was still very happy. You boil the herbs first. I'll make the wooden barrel later and we can use it. Zishang's fingernails grew and he cut the black bone leopard wood into neat wooden pieces. Then he carved fire runes along the leopard markings on the wooden pieces, and started piecing them together. Apart from its spiritual solidification properties, the black bone leopard wood also had great growth properties. The wooden pieces fit together perfectly without a single gap. It was as if it was naturally a wooden barrel. After Yun Jioga finished boiling the herbs, she poured them into the black bone leopard wood barrel. She didn't need to inject spiritual energy. The golden spots and fire runes lit up automatically, and small bubbles appeared in the pitch-black potion. I won't be cooked, right? Yun Jioga swallowed her saliva. She was really worried that a layer of her skin would be scalded off. It just looks hot. Zishang put his hand into the water easily. When he picked it up, it was still as white as jade. Yun Jioga walked into the wooden barrel without worry. The moment she squatted down, her face flushed red. She screamed and wanted to jump out of the barrel. Bear with it even if it hurts. Zishang pressed Yun Jioga down mercilessly. You lied to me. Yun Jioga's face was so hot that her face was crooked. The water was even hotter than it looked. That's how it is. Zishang placed his hand on Yun Jioga's shoulder to prevent her from escaping. The golden spots and fire runes on the black bone wooden barrel grew brighter. More and more bubbles appeared in the potion. The rising mist enveloped the entire bungalow. It was as if she was about to ascend to immortality. Yun Jioga soaked in the water. She felt that the cold air in her bones was about to evaporate. Layers of black filth emerged from her pores, wrapping around her body like sludge. When the medicinal effect completely disappeared, the filth on her body was as thick as armor. Piece by piece it peeled off her skin. However, the effect was very obvious. Her cultivation advanced by another level, and she successfully entered the 3rd level of Qi Disciple. In addition, her 10,000 Beast spell had finally broken through the 1st layer. Not only did the phoenix feather flower on his forehead become clearer, but his skin also became smooth and tough, making it difficult for ordinary swords to injure him. However, the most obvious change was that the red light on her shoulder blades had finally turned into a thin layer of red fur. When will I be able to grow wings? Yunjioge asked Zishang as he stroked the layer of fluff. How long have you been cultivating and you want to become a demon? Zishang chuckled. This girl was looking down on the demon clan too much. If a talented wild beast wanted to evolve into a spirit beast, it would take at least 50 to 100 years. She had cultivated for a few months to have such an effect, and it was all thanks to him using his Niden to dual cultivate with her. Otherwise, she wouldn't even be able to cultivate the red light. Forget it. It's just training anyway. Yunjioge was quite open-minded. She only cultivated the 10,000 Beast spell to stabilize her dantian. She did not really expect to become a spirit and become a bird. Yunjioge used her qi to retract the fluff on her shoulder blades, then took out the Yin energy pill and prepared to cultivate. This Yin energy pill doesn't taste as good as before. After Yunjioge took the Yin energy pill and circulated it through her body, she realized that the effect of the pill was not very good. Logically speaking, this Yin energy pill should be able to last until the 5th layer of Qi Disciple. Why did it lose effectiveness so early? After the 3rd layer of Qi Disciple, the amount of Yin energy you need starts to increase. In addition, your 10,000 Beast spell also needs double the spiritual power. This Yin energy pill is naturally not suitable for you. Zishang had been by Yunjioge's side all this time, so he knew her body like the back of his hand. He even knew how many feathers grew on her shoulder blades. If that's the case, I need to start refining the Yin energy pill now. Yunjioge sighed. The materials needed to refine the Yin energy pill were much more complicated than the Yin energy pill. The 3 nether flowers were easier to pick, but the Yin moths were not. The Yin moths only existed in the Moth Valley of the Yin Energy Cemetery, and they would only appear after midnight. The Yin Energy Cemetery was very dangerous at night. Even if she went in with the skeleton monkey, she might not be able to protect them. The worst thing was that the Yin moths were extremely fast. Killing them one by one was really tiring. He had to think of a way. Why don't you ask the Lu sisters? They were born and raised in this area. Maybe they have a way to deal with those Yin moths. Zishang felt that it would be good for her to cooperate with Yunjioge and the Lu sisters in the future. Okay. The next morning, Yunjioge went to the Lu sisters to ask about the Yin moths. These Yin moths are not easy to catch. If you don't need a lot, you can use contribution points to exchange. 10 contribution points for 1. Lu Tian'er suggested. The Yin energy pill is not effective for those above the 5th layer of weapon refining. You have to refine the Yin energy pill. Yunjioge said that a furnace of 10 Yin energy pills would require at least 200 Yin moths. She could afford it herself, but it depended on whether the Lu sisters could afford the price. So expensive? Lu Mei calculated the cost. If they followed Yunjioge to the Yin Energy Cemetery for a day, they could at most kill 100 Yin ghosts. That was 100 contribution points. After deducting the daily needs, there were 80 points left. Normally, 80 contribution points could be exchanged with Yunjioge for 8 Yin energy pills. Working for 1 day would allow them to go into seclusion for 8 days. They had plenty of time to cultivate. Now that they exchanged it for the Yin energy pill, 10 contribution points for 1 Yin moth. 200 Yin moths would be 2,000 contribution points. They would have to work for 25 days to exchange for 10 Yin energy pills. Where would they have time to cultivate? After calculating the cost, Lu Mei said decisively, then let's go catch them ourselves. Yin moths are very sensitive to yang energy. We can set a trap to lure them over and then kill them. I heard that they use living people as bait. Lu Tian'er said. There are disciples of the Yin Corpse sect in a 10-mile radius. It would be difficult to catch them as bait. Yunjioge expressed his disagreement with this method. It is indeed difficult. If we are discovered, we will be heavily punished. Lu Mei's tone was a little regretful. Although using living people as bait was the simplest and most convenient method, the Yin corpse sect forbade killing each other. I see that the yang energy gathered by your red paper man is not bad. Why don't we try it? Yun Jioga had studied the Lu sisters' red paper man before. The yang energy gathered by their blood essence was not bad. The yang energy gathered by our red paper man is not enough to lure 2 Yin moths. How can it be used as a bait? Lu Mei quickly shook her head. What a joke. Those red paper men were all refined from her blood essence. Every one of them was very precious. It would be a waste to use them to lure Yin moths. Chapter 296. I'm just saying. I don't have to use your red paper dolls. I just need something with enough yang qi. Yun Jioga was just asking casually. Lu Tian'er's eyes suddenly lit up and she said, I know something with enough yang qi. You mean yang essence? As expected of twins, Lu Mei and Lu Tian'er immediately guessed what their sister was thinking. That's right. Lu Tian'er nodded and laughed. As long as we can collect enough yang essence and store it in a yang locator, we can definitely attract Yin moths and other fairies. Wait. Yun Jioga raised his hand and asked hesitantly, the yang essence you're talking about, is it the one you're thinking of? Oh, it's the one you're thinking of. Lu Tian'er laughed and said, how about brother Yun Jiu contribute the first shot? I don't have that thing. Ahem, senior apprentice brother, don't mind me. My sister is just joking with you. Lu Mei coughed and gestured for her sister to look at the 1,000-year-old corpse behind Yun Jioga. Zhang actually found it quite interesting, but his identity as an old corpse made him unable to show his emotions on his face. In the eyes of the 2 sisters he looked like he was angry. That's right, senior apprentice brother, I'm just joking. Lu Tian'er immediately became serious. The man of a 1,000-year-old corpse must not be casually flirted with. You guys find a way to get this yang essence. Inform me when you're done. Yun Jioga waved his hand dispiritedly. He no longer wanted to discuss this unrestrained topic with the 2 sisters. Senior apprentice brother, don't worry. Leave this task to us. The Lu sisters vowed. Oh right, go buy 2 more second-rank Yin Qi bottles. Yun Jioga planned to go all out. Yes. The Lu sisters accepted the task and went to work. Just as Yun Jioga was about to cultivate, Zhang suddenly pulled her into his arms and blinked his peach blossom eyes. He smiled and said, do you want me to give you some yang essence? I've been saving it for a long time. Hehe, you should keep such a precious thing. Yun Jioga pushed Zhang away and went to cultivate seriously. While the Lu sisters were busy collecting yang essence, Yun Jioga was not idle either. She sneaked into the Yin Qi cemetery with the white bone monkey and picked many 3 nether flowers. 2 days later, the Lu sisters came to find her with a large milky white cup. The cup was in the shape of a cylinder, and the lid on it was very intricately made. It only allowed the liquid to enter but not exit, giving off a strange feeling. Senior brother, do you want to check it? Lu Tian'er pretended to open the cup. No need. It's fine as long as you think it's fine. Yun Jioga rejected the cup of little tadpoles. Then when should we go? This cup of yang essence won't be fresh if we keep it for too long. The Lu sisters had spent a lot of effort to make this thing. Let's go now, Yun Jioga said decisively. He would first go in and kill some Yin ghost. After midnight he would catch the Yin moths. At midnight the Yin Qi cemetery was shrouded in ghost qi, gloomy and gloomy. Yun Jioga was standing next to the big pagoda tree where he and Zhang had previously dual cultivated. Beneath him was a depression and in the middle of it was a bottle. Around it were 6 white bone spikes. Once we have gathered enough Yin moths, we'll attack at the same time. Can you do that? Yun Jioga looked at the 2 sisters. Her plan was simple. She would wait for the Yin moths to gather and then use the white bone spikes to kill them. At this time cooperation was important. If the white bone spikes could not attack at the same time, the lethality would be greatly reduced, and the Yin moths would take the opportunity to escape. Senior brother, don't worry. I guarantee that none of them will escape. The Lu sisters were twins, so cooperation was an instinct for them. It was not difficult at all. Then let's begin. Yun Jioga nodded at Lu Mei. Lu Mei threw a red paper doll into the yang essence cup, and the doll quickly opened the lid. A faint stench floated out. The Yin Qi in the distance rolled and a large group of Yin ghosts pounced over. However, they were lured away by the white bone monkey. Following that, a large group of gray Yin moths surged over. They were terrifyingly fast and instantly drowned the young essence cup. Lu Tian'er looked at the Yin moths as if she was looking at countless contribution points. She was extremely excited. Lu Meier could not help but look at Yun Jioge with a questioning gaze. Yun Jioge shook his head. This was not enough. He had to accumulate more. Seeing that the number of Yin moths was increasing, and those that could not smell the yang qi were about to leave, Yun Jioge finally nodded. The Lu sisters simultaneously made a hand seal, and 6 white bone spikes burst out with a blood-red light, and with a loud bang they pierced into the Yin moths. The Yin moths shrieked. In an instant more than half of them were killed, and the rest scattered in all directions trying to escape. Yun Jioge quickly commanded the white bone spikes to kill those that escaped. This attack killed a total of more than 400 Yin moths, just enough to make a cauldron of Yin gathering pills. There was still a lot of yang essence left in the cup and it could continue to attract the moths. Just like that, Yun Jioge and the Lu sisters killed for the entire night. The bottle of yang essence attracted more than 2,000 Yin moths. Although the results were gratifying, it was extremely tiring. Well done. Yun Jioge held the 5 heavy Yin Qi bottles in his hands and praised the Lu sisters. Senior brother, you flatter us. Although the Lu sisters were happy, they knew that if it was not for the white bone monkey and the 1,000-year-old corpse protecting them, they would not have achieved such a result. Alright, let's go back. The yang essence had been used up and the sun was about to rise. There was no point in staying any longer. The Lu sisters and Yun Jioge returned to the bungalow together, and after saying good morning to each other they parted ways. Yun Jioge carried the heavy Yin Qi bottles back to the house, and was so tired that she could not lift her arms. However, these Yin moths would be wasted if she did not immediately refine them. She could only raise her spirits and prepare to refine the pills. The Yin Qi that the Yin moths produced was a little grayish-black, and the refined Yin Qi was also black and very thin. However, as long as the 3 nether flower was put in, it would become very sticky. The 3 nether flower looked like a mushroom, and the grayish-white mushroom had 3 thick black rhombus-shaped lines on it. These 3 rhombus-shaped lines were the materials needed to refine the Yin gathering pill. Yun Jioge removed the 3 rhombus-shaped lines from the mushroom, and threw them into the Yin moth's water. The thin Yin Qi water instantly became sticky. After all the materials were prepared, Yun Jioge poured the sticky medicinal liquid into the small bronze cauldron, and began to refine the pill. The fire required to refine the Yin gathering pill was very short, and inexperienced people would easily spoil it. However, this was not a problem for Yun Jioge. She only spent 2 hours to successfully refine the medicinal liquid into the Yin gathering pill. 10 cauldrons made a total of 300 Yin gathering pills and the color looked grayish. Although it did not look good, the Yin Qi it contained was definitely very thick. When I think about how these Yin moths were attracted by yang essence, I feel a little nauseous. Yun Jioge looked at the furnace of Yin gathering pills and could not help but sigh. However, for the sake of cultivation she could only endure it no matter how disgusting it was. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.